Stop there.
I did come to get my items, but she changed the locks on me, so I was unable to get them.
Did you change the lock?
She accused me of being nosy and spying on her.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Faith Hudson is suing her former landlord, Dolores Thompson, for the return of her security deposit and for personal property that was destroyed by mold.
Order. All rise. This is case number 8 on the calendar in the matter of Hudson versus Thompson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Thompson, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
According to what I've read, you wanted to start a daycare business.
Yes.
Where?
At my home. It would have been a home child care.
Do you live in the home?
Yes, ma'am.
How big is the home?
It's rather large. It's 4,700 square feet.
Is there a separate room in there that you were renting?
I was going to initially have the child care on the first floor. I do have a garden unit that I rent, and I live on the second and third floor duplex.
The garden room, is that connected to the house?
No, it's not.
So it's a totally separate room. Miss Hudson?
That is the garden unit is what I was renting to Miss Hudson.
When did you decide to rent it to Miss Hudson?
Around May, I would say 15th.
But when you rented it to her, the idea was that she was going to be the child care worker.
Yes.
And live eventually in the unit in the house.
Yes, a unit.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But when you moved into the garden room.
I moved into the garden unit, yes,
Garden
Your
unit.
Honor.
Okay. What was the rent?
The rent was $1,000.
And you paid May's rent?
I paid a move-in fee for May. It was no rent.
What does that mean, a move-in
She
fee?
did not ask for rent because she asked me to move in early so that she could jumpstart getting the daycare open. So I did not pay my first month's rent until June.
What date did you move in?
May 15th.
How much money did you give her?
$400.
That's rent for half a month. Now, how long did you stay?
I stayed until July 8th.
And you paid her for June?
Yes, ma'am.
$1,000?
Yes.
And you stayed until July 8th?
Yes.
Did you pay her any rent for July?
No, I did not.
What are you suing her for?
I'm suing her for damage to my properties.
What property did she damage?
I had a bedroom set, my child's bedroom set, and a lot of his belongings.
How did she damage them?
Because her place was mold infested.
What place was
Infested.
When did you discover it?
I discovered that July 6th.
Do you have pictures of it?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I'm not 100% sure what order they are in, but it's pictures of my son's suitcase that has mold, my bed skirts, his bed skirts. The bed frame is like in the corner where you can see where there's mold as well, where I had to remove his mattress.
So the first time you made her aware that you saw what you believe was mold in the house was on July 6th?
Yes.
And what did she do?
I went up to her apartment and I explained to her, like, something is going on down here. I think it's molding. She immediately got defensive and told me I was the one that brought the mold inside the house. So I showed her a shoe that had mold at the sole of the shoe. And I'm like, Miss Dolores, I didn't bring that in here. It's something going down there in the basement. Prior to that...
What do you mean in the basement?
Well, the garden unit, because that's where it is. But prior to that, she did have some issues with the cooling and heating in the garden unit.
Miss Hudson, when you moved in on the 15th, and you paid her for half a month's rent, $400. On what day of the month did you pay your rent in June?
June, I believe I paid June 1st.
So why is it that on...
With my employer at that time, they had paid us twice. They sent out emails telling us not to use the money that was in our accounts because they had messed up. That was on Saturday, July 4th. When I was to come into work Monday, they said everything would be rectified. I did take a screenshot of it, and I sent it to Miss Dolores, explained to her what was going on.
Do you remember getting that from her?
I do remember getting a check for $700, which I do have here, Your Honor, that I did not cash because she asked me not to deposit the check. And
I see that very sure.
All of that did occur on July 6th. She still had not paid rent by July 8th, and I asked her what were we going to do. And at that time, she said that she was going to move on her own. She said she would move.
Well, did she complain to you about mold?
Not until July 25th, which would have been her third day to come to remove the items, because on July 8th, she said she was moving.
So she moved July 8th, but she left items there?
She said she was moving July 8th, and she came on the July 16th, I think it was, 16th or 17th.
When did she physically leave the garden apartment?
The majority of her items were gone as of July 27th, when we gained entry into the unit on July 26th.
One portion of my items, July 15th. July 8th, which is the day she's referring to, I did come to get my items, but she changed the locks on me, so I was unable to get them. So from the 8th until the 15th, I was trying to gain access into the unit.
Did you give her a key?
She had a key that was dispersed to her when she moved in on May 17th.
And did you change the lock?
I changed the locks on July 8th because, one, she had said she was going to move, and I do have documentation of that, but also because of something that had occurred about July 4th to July 5th. I witnessed something outside my window.
What did you witness?
I witnessed a young lady very disturbed and crying, and I heard it.
Not this young lady?
I found out it was this young lady, but her hair was different from the day she had moved into the unit. And so that made me concerned because the person entered my gates. I did not realize it was her, but then the curious thing was someone entered the gate behind her after she was gone for about 5 minutes. A gentleman stood at the gate, and then when he kind of dipped forward, he did something to the gate, and he entered. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 o'clock in the
about
morning?
4 o'clock in the morning.
And so your house is gated?
My house is gated.
And there's a lock?
And there's a lock.
Did you say anything to Miss Hudson?
I did.
When did you say something to her?
It was July 5th.
No, listen to me. I didn't ask you whether it happened. I asked you whether you remember her saying to you that she saw something the night before?
No, ma'am, I do not remember.
The reason why I waited till July 5th, the person in question remained in the home in the garden unit with Ms. Hudson until July 5th. At that time, she and I were working on something, and I told her that I had witnessed something. She accused me. I didn't become defensive. She accused me of being nosy and spying on her.
You remember that conversation?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Well, if you don't remember the conversation, she seems to remember it quite clearly. So I have to rely on her memory since you don't remember it.
I don't.
Remember it.
I can't remember that because that never happened. I did call her nosy, but it was not because of that incident right there.
Okay. Now, I have a check that you wrote to her on July 3rd for rent.
Yes.
So you want me to believe, Miss Hudson, that you just noticed this mold between July 3rd and July 6th, this mold on the bedding, on your son's toy. You just noticed that there was a mold problem after you paid her rent for July.
Yes, ma'am. I was not in the home like that. My son was away for the summer, and I was not at home. I would come home to change clothes, but I was not in the home. It was a bedroom set, and I literally came in when...
So, just a second. Let me understand this. You were paying $1,000 to live in a place where you didn't live.
Thank you.
And you get paid bi-weekly, $1,300 bi-weekly, $2,600 a month. So you were paying $1,000 for a place that you weren't using.
Yes, I was. I had other things going on. I was not always at home.
What other things did you have going on?
I had a son to look after him. I was at my mother's house. I had to work. It was just not it.
Miss Hudson, I don't believe a word you're saying.
Okay.
I don't believe a word you're saying.
All right.
Now, your clothes were there, your things were there until at least the 8th of July, according to you.
Yes.
Okay. Did you re-rent the garden unit?
Yes, I did.
When?
I re-rented it on August the 14th, but the person moved in on September 1st.
So you're suing her for back rent for the month of July?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about damage? What kind of damage are you alleging she caused to the unit?
Well, I had to service the HVAC unit and the CO2 unit.
She didn't do any damage to those. If you had to service them, you serviced them.
Well, the thermostat had recently been changed on July 7th because of the People's Gas had come and said that I'd like to show
that
the thermostat was inoperable. And that's when the complaint on, whereas when Ms. Hudson entered the unit, the gas was on. The inoperable thermostat did not cause the gas not to be on, nor the heat.
I don't know if she caused it or not. You can't say that she caused it. So you're happy that she's gone?
I am so happy.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so pleased. Judgment on the claim for 1 week's rent, $250. Your claim is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
Please excuse me. Step out.
I think things started going south from day one of the move-in. I never locked her out. I did change the gate for fear of my own safety. Well, from now on, I make sure that they do the application but in advance. I am happy with Judge Judy's decision.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Howard Murphy versus Flahiff. Step forward.
Lillian Howard is suing Angelina Flahiff for medical bills and damages after Angelina's 7 chihuahuas attacked her.
Miss Howard, on March the 2nd of this year, you and your great-granddaughter, who was how old?
4.
You were out walking. Just the two of you?
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant's 7 little dogs,
Yes.
chihuahuas,
Yes.
came running up to you in a pack.
Right.
Tell me what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you check to see where your dogs, and where were they?
They were inside the gate.
Who put them back inside the gate?
Nobody. They were never outside.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lillian Howard is suing Angelina Flahiff for medical bills and damages after Angelina's chihuahuas attacked her.
Now, tell me what happened.
They start nipping at our ankles and chewing at us and barking and being all angry, and we fell down on the ground.
Who fell?
I did, face first, and my granddaughter fell on her. And so we both was hurt, and I'm 77 years old, and falling down is very painful for me. And I couldn't get up, so a neighbor came by and tried to knock on the door and get them to retrieve the dogs. So after that, he came and tried to help me up, and I broke my glasses. And I have all these bruises, which I have evidence, and my grandbaby had bruises also. I'm so devastated over it. It hurt so bad until I could not believe all these dogs. Where are they coming from? But they was coming from her house, and they was biting at my ankles and biting at my legs. And
did you go and see a doctor?
Yes, I went the next day.
I once said, Miss Howard, to a very prominent doctor who dealt in the care of people who were older.
Right.
I once said to him, if you had to tell me one thing to do or not to do so that I could get to be really old, I want to live to be past 100.
Right.
What advice would you give to me? And he said, I can only give you 2 words. Do you know what they were? Don't fall.
True.
Very good advice. Okay. Now, were you home at the time that your dogs got out?
No, Your Honor, I was not.
Who was home?
My daughter was home.
Okay. Tell me your last name.
Fruchon.
It's Fruchon. Were you inside the house or outside the house?
I was inside the house.
Where inside?
I was in my living room watching outside where the dogs are at, playing them, because the window's always open and shows all the dogs all the time. I looked outside and I was just talking about them, and I hear a knock at the door. I go outside and I see nobody at the door. And then I walk down the little path and I see her on the floor with her granddaughter running around her. But I did not hear no screaming.
Where were the dogs?
There was no dogs outside when I went outside.
So your dogs weren't where they were supposed to be?
The 7 dogs, she said...
They weren't in the backyard when you came out. The backyard is fenced.
No, when I came out in the front yard, they were not in the front yard.
Listen, is the backyard fenced?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a fence with a gate.
Mm-hmm.
Did you check to see where your dogs were after you saw her on the floor?
Yes, I have.
And where were they?
They were inside the gate.
Who put them back inside the gate?
Nobody. They were never outside.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor.
What?
She never got back to me about anything at all, and I didn't know her name or her address. She didn't leave me there. She told me her first name, not the last name, or the address, or her phone number. She called
You've
from a
got
private
lots
number.
of excuses. You have as many excuses as your daughter has fibs.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lillian Howard is suing Angelina Flahiff for medical bills and damages after Angelina's chihuahuas attacked her.
Now, did the animal control come to your house?
Yes, Your Honor, they did come to the house, but I was not there at that time. They spoke to the children at that time. I did get the report from them.
I'd like to see the report. What happened to the other 2 dogs? You were allowed to have 5 dogs, is that right?
No, only 4 dogs, and they were registered, and then my friend came to stay for a short while, and we had a couple more, and we got rid of them.
How many dogs do you now have?
4.
And you were also issued a citation for animals at large, which means that the animals were out, not under your supervision.
That's what the ticket they gave me said.
Yes, and you paid it.
I did. They fixed some of them.
You paid it.
I
You
have
didn't
to pay
fight it.
I have to pay it. I went down there, I spoke to them, and
you paid it. Other than your broken eyeglasses and the fall, and I've seen what the report says, did you have any other outstanding medical bills?
Yes, I have other bills that I have here to show of visits, and also for my glasses.
I'd like to see it. Do you rent your house or own it?
I own my house.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
I do.
Why didn't you put this through your homeowners insurance?
She gave me one phone call. I told her I needed to talk to my daughter about it. The next time she called, I was not home. She didn't leave me a phone number. She called me from a private number, and I did not have the address. She said she lived down the street.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Well, then why didn't you proceed through your homeowners insurance when you got served with the summons?
I didn't get served with the summons. The city of Moreno Valley didn't send me anything at all. I was never served.
What's the name of the company that carries your homeowners insurance? Remember, it's just become very important to me. What's the name of your insurance company? You usually are insured with your cars by the same company that insures your homeowners.
Well, my homeowner's insurance and my car's insurance isn't from the same place.
Well, now think hard. Who's your homeowners with? Who do you write the check to?
I don't. I go through my escrow.
Yeah.
She never got back to me about anything at all, so I figured she didn't follow up with anything, so I didn't know if she was following through with anything, and I didn't know what had actually happened except for what my children had told me, and I was not there. I was at work when I got the phone call. So I followed through. I tried to get a police report. I got this paper here to find out as much documentation I could about what happened.
Well, now, just a second. Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy, I called her the next day. I talked with her at length. She told me that she wasn't going to pay for nothing that I was asking her for. And to call her the next day at 12, I called her and her voicemail was full.
There's no question in my mind that she does not have homeowners insurance. Just like there's no question that her daughter told me a fib.
Your Honor.
What?
I do have homeowners insurance, and
well, then why did
told her, why did she go to the gate? Why did she go to check the glasses out without even coming to me and showing
her injuries and her glasses? You call your homeowners insurance and you say, my dogs got out. There is a lady that's claiming that my dogs injured her, and this is her name and this is her address, and they will contact her.
I didn't know her name or her address. She didn't leave me there. She's telling me her first name and not the last name or the address or a phone number she called from a private number.
You got lots of excuses. You have as many excuses as your daughter has fibs.
This is the truth.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Trading his keys for cash.
She paid you to use the car.
Didn't pay off.
I'd gotten a minor accident.
You did 2 things wrong.
But she's still responsible.
Oh, you think so?
Judge Judy.
I'm glad the plaintiff came in and got what she wanted for whatever injuries she said she had.
Very frightening and quite a sore experience.
That she's saying that we weren't completely truthful about the situation.
She was talking like she knew the dogs was out and it was just an accident.
My daughter called me on the phone and told me.
They told me that she had too many dogs and they cited her.
What I witnessed that day is that when I went outside and I seen no dogs outside.
That isn't true. The dogs was all around.
And she was on the floor and her granddaughter was running around like nothing ever happened.
I had ankles and...
All I seen was grass marks on her shoulder and that was it.
Frightened for my life because I fell and I'm too old to be falling.
Just take extra steps to make sure that you keep your animals in the yard.
To be honest, to be truthful about what you're going to tell someone. You know, you don't need to lie.
I'm very glad it's over. Yeah.
That is the best policy, to be very honest about a case. You know, if you lost, you lost.
Her friend was quite the entrepreneur.
He was giving my friend rides for cheaper than a taxi was, so then I started calling him instead of calling the taxi.
You were your own little Uber driver.
But trading his keys for cash
She paid you $75 to use the car.
didn't pay off.
On the way back to his house, I had gotten a minor accident.
You did 2 things wrong.
But she's still responsible.
Oh, you think so?
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Dottie Pointer is suing his former friend, Reagan Peterson, for crashing his car while she was borrowing it.
Order. All rise. Mrs. Peterson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Pointer, according to what I read, the defendant was a friend of yours, and one evening, the night of
January 8th.
Of this
2016.
year, she was using your car. She was using your car with your permission.
Yes.
And according to you, there was an accident. You want her to be responsible for the damage.
Yes.
The defendant has a rather interesting defense. First, she said there was a minor fender bender, but it was no big deal. But Miss Peterson says that you rent out your car.
No.
And that she paid you $75 that night to use the car. Is that correct?
Yes.
Had you ever given him money before?
Just for rides. That was the first time I'd rented out the car, but he would pick me up and drop me off.
And you paid him for that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Starting when?
December.
And is that the first time you met him?
Yeah, I met him through a mutual friend. When I met him, he told me his name was Gary, so...
Tell me how you met him.
He was giving my friend rides for cheaper than a taxi was, so then I started calling him instead of calling the taxi.
So this is his business?
Well, yeah.
Okay. The first time you used him, December of 2015, I want you to tell me about that call that you made to him.
She was at my house, and we were going to her house, so we called him, and that's how I met him, was through the first ride.
And how much did he charge you for that first time? That you paid him in cash?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you use him again?
I only used him like maybe 4 or 5 times before I had borrowed the car.
Now tell me about the night of January 8th. Where did you want to go?
I was just borrowing the car to be a designated driver for my friends.
Well, you had never done that before.
No, he was saving up to move down south, so he suggested that we do $100 a night, but we agreed on $75.
Tell me about that conversation.
Actually, he had brought it up to my friend, and she told me, so then I started talking to him about it, and he said, from 9 p.m. till 9 a.m. for $100, and we settled on $75. He came, picked me up, he got in the back seat.
That was on January 8th?
Mm-hmm. I dropped him off at his house, took the car. On the way back to his house, I had gotten a minor accident. I then drove the car
Tell me about the accident.
We were at the stoplight, and the light turned green. The car ahead of me started going, and they slammed on their brakes as I started going after them, so I bumped behind them.
Okay, so you were responsible for the accident?
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Don't speak.
I don't feel like I didn't do $5,000 worth of damage.
Well, you're clearly responsible for the accident if you hit somebody in the rear.
Right.
You're not supposed to get that close. So you had the accident.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of car was it that you were leasing for the night?
I don't know what kind of car. I'm not good at the kind of
car.
July 5th, 2015.
How much did you pay for it?
14 something for it. I'm not really sure of the price.
Is the car financed?
Yes.
They require you to have full insurance on a car until the car note is paid off.
It wasn't full coverage. It was just liability.
They require you to have full coverage on a car until it's paid off. All insurance companies do. You know that.
Yes.
But you didn't have full coverage on the car.
No, just liability.
So let me just follow this. You breached your contract with the finance company.
Yes.
There is no question that Miss Peterson is telling me the truth, that you were operating your own little limousine business on the side for cash, and that she paid you $75 for the night of the 8th of January so that she could have the car for the night. So there's no question in my mind that you were operating a business with your car, a business that requires a license in every jurisdiction. It's not the worst crime in the world, but do you understand?
Yes,
you did the wrong thing 2 times. You didn't have full coverage on a car that you were supposed to have full coverage on.
But she's still responsible.
Oh, you think so? I'm going to tell you what the law is. The law is that when somebody comes to court, they have to come to court with clean hands. That doesn't mean if you came into court and you would merely let somebody borrow your car and they had an accident, I would say, well, 3 years ago you stole a candy bar, so you don't have clean hands. But you're asking the court to help you in a situation where you did two things wrong. You didn't have insurance, and you were conducting a business with your car without an appropriate license and lending it. Well, I know she used it, and her friend used it. I don't know how many other people you were in this business of giving rides to for 10 bucks, 15 bucks. You were your own little Uber driver, only you didn't have to share it with Uber. Whatever it was word of mouth. So the accident was her fault, but you're asking the court to disregard the fact that you didn't have appropriate insurance and you didn't have a license to operate a business, and you were giving the car over to people, some of whom may have had licenses, some of whom didn't.
No, I just gave it to her.
You mean this was the first time you did that?
That was the only time I did it.
So this was the first and only time that you leased out your car. Prior to that, you were just doing driving.
Yes.
And pocketing the money. So it was still two things that were wrong. You understand? Okay. So now I have to sort of balance the equities, whether or not I choose to help you at all or not. So it's not a clear cut that it's her fault and I have no responsibility. You're supposed to have full coverage on your car. If you did what you were supposed to do, what you could to point to when you bought the car, we wouldn't be here today. Or you would be here today seeking a $500 deductible from her because you would have had insurance that you promised you would get, right?
I had insurance. I was covered under a friend. And she said she wasn't going to help me pay to get the car fixed.
You're covered? What does that mean? You're covered under a friend.
It's not my insurance. I'm under someone.
Whose insurance?
Dominique. I have papers.
Explain that to me.
I bought the car outright with my money, and I didn't have insurance, so she put me under her insurance. So I was able to cover the car, but she said she's not going to come out of, well, she's not going to have the insurance paid to fix the car.
I want to see the registration, the VIN number for a car, and I want to see an insurance document that said this car is covered for liability and collision. That's what I want to see. Great. Car is titled in your name, and it says that you have continuous liability coverage. It doesn't have collision. That's exactly what I said. Your car, the car is in your name, doesn't have collision coverage, and you were added as an additional driver. I don't know what kind of nonsense that is. It doesn't say you have collision. Who's Dominique?
She's not here. She had to work.
Who is it?
It's a friend.
That's not a tap.
I drove the car to his house over half an hour away. That's not the condition the car was in. There's no way I could have driven that car.
She didn't leave the car in front of my house. She abandoned it 3 or 4 blocks away.
It was 2 houses down from his because there was cars parked out front of his house.
It was abandoned 3 or 4 blocks away.
It was 2 houses down.
Where is the car now?
The car is in the shop.
Did you have an estimate?
Yes, it's right here.
I'd like to see it.
How did you try it?
That was a light tap.
Okay, but if we both driven the car after the accident, how did it look like that?
The radiator, I was driving.
Don't talk to each other, please. Do you have a police report?
I don't have the police report.
Do you have a police report? I'd like to take a look at it. This accident happened at 4:45. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where were you going?
I was bringing the car back to him.
Where had you been?
I was just dropping off a few friends.
Where had you been?
I was home. I borrowed his car to be the designated driver for my friends, and I dropped some people off, and then...
Estimate for the car for $4,500. I actually think that you have partial responsibility for not doing what you were supposed to do, was have collision coverage on the car. I don't believe your whole story, by the way, about who Dominique is. She's a friend, whatever. Not buying it. There's a piece of the story that I'm not getting. But one thing I'm certain of is that you were operating a business without an appropriate license, and you didn't cover the car for both liability and collision, which you were required to do under your contract. So you have to suffer a penalty for that. But you had an accident with the car.
Yes.
And the accident was your fault. Mm-hmm. Your fault. You have an estimate for $4,500. So you're going to eat $500 of that because that would have been the deductible that you would have had to eat if you had proper insurance. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all we're done.
Thank you. Why is our excuse? You step out.
I left the keys in the side of the door as instructed and gave him a text message saying that the car was outside.
No, she didn't leave the car on my block. She left it 3, 4 blocks down.
The insurance is in his girlfriend's name, so obviously that's why he told me to do that, so no one would know that I borrowed the car.
Yes, she's a girl that's a friend, so yes, it's in my girlfriend's name.
It's time to get my own.
I'm just glad it's over.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Milano versus Williams. Step forward.
Steve Milano is suing his former tenant, Crystal Giz, to his rental unit.
Mr. Milano, the defendant was your tenant. You own a building?
That is correct.
When did she begin her tenancy?
April 19, 2012.
What kind of building is it?
It's a 9-unit apartment building.
And what was her rent?
At the time, it was $1,000 per month.
And should she have a 12-month lease?
When she moved in with a 7-month lease.
Did she renew that lease?
It turned into a month-to-month tenancy.
And when did she move out?
November 10th, 2015.
Okay. Your lawsuit is requesting unpaid rent and damages, and Miss Williams has a counterclaim for the return of her security deposit, which I assume was $1,000?
$736 in some sense, I believe.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And for which months did Miss Williams not pay rent?
She paid rent for all the months up until September 2015, when I started the unlawful detainer action.
Why did you start an action against her?
She did not pay any rent. And
in September?
In September.
So that's when you filed to evict her?
Correct.
Did she pay rent in October?
No.
And she moved out the beginning of November?
Correct.
Did you pay rent for September?
No.
Did you pay rent for October?
No, I did not.
Did you live there?
Yes.
Then you owe rent for those 2 months.
Well, in September, I fell down the stairs, and I was in the hospital. Well, actually, they told me he taped it to the screen, and I was still in the hospital, and I did bring that with me.
I don't have to see it. Why didn't you give your son your rent to give to him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many times have you sued him?
Well, once.
How much did you collect the first time?
It was $50,000.
And you have a lawsuit pending to sue Mr. Milano again for the second fall?
Correct.
Did you have more injuries this time?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Milano says former tenant Crystal Williams owes for rent and apartment damages.
Why didn't you give your son your rent?
Because I have the control over my money.
If you have control over your money, you should make arrangements to pay your rent. But you lived there until November. So if you lived there until November, when you got out of the hospital, why didn't you pay September's rent?
Because when I answered to his unlawful detainer, our lawyers made an agreement that as long as I was out by November 10th, that it would just be a wash because I fell and I needed to move. I needed to be downstairs. This wasn't the first, but it was the second time that I fell downstairs.
How many times have you sued him?
Well, once. Thus far.
Suing him again?
I believe the actual amount that was recovered was $50,000.
Okay, and you have a lawsuit pending. Your lawyer is to sue Mr. Milano again for the second fall.
Correct.
So the first time you collected $50,000.
Yes.
I assume you're suing for the same this time. Did you have more injuries this time?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you have to pay, unless you have a written agreement. He's suing for the 2 months' rent that you didn't pay. And how much was your rent in September of 2015?
$1,000.
Okay, so he's suing for $2,000. He's also suing for damages. Now, so far, there's no excuse for not paying the rent, but you did have $736 in security deposit.
That is correct.
So now you have to show me what damages you claim that not only eat up that security deposit, but increase the request by $1,400.
Okay.
Have documentation?
I'd like to see photographs.
Photographs are right here. Photographs and documentation of the money. Do you want to see both?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also have photographs and documentation that he was going to make the proper repairs to the unit.
If you don't like where you're living, you move, Miss Williams. You don't stay there and then say, I'm not paying rent. That's going into a restaurant.
That's not what I did.
That's going into the restaurant, eat, and then saying, I didn't like the steak, I'm not going to pay for it.
And I understand that.
In 2013, if you didn't think that he was a good landlord, then you move.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want you to tell me what the
why did
damage
he
was.
sign for it?
If you look at the last photos, if you look at the carpet, it has to be replaced. It's uncleanable, it's unusable.
The carpet wasn't new when I moved in there. It was rotten because when you pulled it back, it was just dirt.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Milano says former tenant Crystal Williams owes for rent and apartment damages.
You moved in there in 2012. You lived there for 3 years.
Exactly. I also lived there with my sister, who was in stage 4 cancer, who passed away while we lived there in the unit. It wasn't that easy to just up and move.
Then don't complain about it now. I'm not interested. I want you to tell me what the damage was.
Well, why did he sign for it?
Okay.
I want to know what the damage was. I don't see substantial damage here.
If you look at the last photos when she moved out, if you look at the carpet, it has to be replaced. It's uncleanable. It's unusable. And the carpet there shows a prorated amount of repair, and I charged her for the prorated because the carpet's supposed to last 5 years.
The carpet wasn't new when I moved in there.
But it's prorated for 60 months.
The carpet before November.
November is not what we're talking about. We're talking about 2012.
Okay, well, I have here in 2013 where I told him about the carpet and that it was rotten because when you pulled it back, it was just dirt. Because when you vacuum, your canister is just full of dirt. And the linoleum, we had a flood in the kitchen, and it was already, it had a big split in it already, and his handy dude tried to fix it, but it didn't work. I mean, it was old.
Okay, so what it was, Miss Williams, all along is that you lived in a second-floor unit and you wanted a first-floor unit.
Right, which he promised to me when I moved in.
Do you have that in writing?
It's on that list.
No, well, you say it.
He
but
agreed that I said it.
No, you say it.
Right, I stated
you
it,
and
he signed it because he said it. If he found it to be untrue, then he shouldn't have signed it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Can you tell me why? Is this your signature?
A little on the bottom there, there's things that did get fixed. Signature.
Well, why would you sign this thing, this 16 items that she's complaining about, when what she really wants is a downstairs
I acknowledge
apartment?
that I received it, ma'am, and I acknowledge that the things that need to be done were done. I always fix things that are done. I have tenants that have been in my apartment.
Just a second. She wanted to remain in your building.
And I wanted her to...
No. She wanted to remain a tenant. She liked the building. She may have complained about the building, but what she wanted was a first-floor unit.
And I offered that to her.
For more money.
Correct.
Right, because first-floor units are more valuable.
She didn't want it at that point.
That wasn't the point. The point was that he wanted me to pay $2,100.
Whatever his rent was.
Downstairs.
Well,
the rent was $1,100.
Listen, that's not the point.
Right. The point was that I wanted to be downstairs.
The point is you wanted to be downstairs. Then maybe you should have found another place to live.
But he had 3 different downstairs units come available between the time.
Because he wanted more money.
I couldn't move my sister with stage 4 cancer just that easy. I couldn't. She died in the apartment.
I understand.
Okay, and I mean, I have pictures
Judgment
of
for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're entitled to your rent, less some
Thank
for
you, Your
the
Honor.
security.
I'll take what
done.
you give me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Parties are excusing me. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You went into his house and you were irritated.
I pointed my finger at him like this and told him how mad I was and upset. He picks up a Pepsi can and throws it at me.
Next, Judge Judy.
While I had to do a lot more work than I normally would have had to do with just an average move-out where I would have given the tenant back their deposit and I would have had to collect back rent.
On the inside of the apartment, the carpet was old. It was rotting.
Well, I offered her that to move to the first floor, but she didn't want to pay the extra rent.
You know, I can't say, oh, well, I didn't owe him rent because it was substandard.
Downstairs rents are easily $100 to $200 more a month.
But I think he was just kind of unfair about the moving me downstairs situation.
Absolutely. She wanted what she wanted, and she thought everybody should give it to her.
Stand up for what you believe in. Take pictures just as I did.
You know, it's very difficult, but you have to just move on. It's a business entity, and you have to just take care of your business.
Make sure you get it in writing.
In the future, you know, I will work harder on taking care of my tenants.
A new fence becomes a barrier to peace.
He wanted to paint it red because his house was red, and I said, no, I'm the owner of the fence.
He painted the side.
But nothing could hold back this neighbor.
You went into his house and you were irritated.
I pointed my finger at him like this and told him how mad I was and upset. He picks up a Pepsi can and throws it at me.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Bobby Catcherside is suing his neighbor, Ronald Tichenor, for the cost to repair a fence, a false restraining order, harassment, and defamation of character.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 64 on the calendar in the matter of Catcherside versus Tichenor.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Catcherside, how long have you lived in your home?
About 27 months.
How large a property do you have?
The property that I have now is 100 by 125.
You decided to sell a piece of your property to the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to explain what size property you sold to him.
I sold the defendant a parcel that bordered my two other properties and his property. That property was 37 feet by 120.
Here since 1970.
And you just took this little piece of property.
Yes, ma'am.
To annex onto yours. How much did you pay for it?
$3,000.
That's not true, Your Honor.
How much did he pay for it?
He paid me $3,000 initially, and then another payment of $700 towards the dividing fence.
I don't want to hear about the dividing fence.
It was $3,700 then would be the total for the property.
I would like to see the bill of sale.
This is the bill of sale, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, the sale price of this house was $3,000. In addition, buyer agrees to pay 50% of the cost of a privacy fence dividing the property. Okay, now, this is what the case is about. You built the fence.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no allegation here with regard to payment for the fence. That's not what your lawsuit is about. I'm just telling you. It has nothing to do with payment for the fence.
He failed to pay according to the agreement, the sales agreement.
Listen to me, sir. This is your lawsuit. You filed the complaint. You show me in this complaint where you are suing for the fence.
Well, this isn't the original lawsuit, Your Honor. The original suit, damages for the fence is in the original suit.
Well, sir.
This is a summary of all the different things I sued for.
These are your options. I can continue with this case as it was filed and as he was served, because this is what he received, your complaint. I can continue with the case based upon what's here, or do you want me to dismiss the entire matter without prejudice and you want to go back to, I think you
I'll
come from
continue,
Illinois?
Your Honor.
Fine. Okay. So now my understanding is that you decided for whatever reason after living in your house for a couple of years that you wanted to fence your entire property. And your entire property has neighbors on all sides. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
So the only side of the fence that was impacted by the building of this four-sided fence was his, with regard to the aesthetics of it. Because part of what you're complaining about, sir, is that he painted the fence or stained the fence that divided your property and his, a stain that you didn't like.
Yes, ma'am. Him and I discussed what the color of the stain was going to be the day before, and he told me that he wanted to paint it red because his house was red. And I said, no, a neutral color that will kind of blend in between your house and my house.
Just a minute, I'll get to
I'll get some samples tomorrow, and we will discuss what neutral color to paint the fence.
Just a second. Mr. Tricia, I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The next day, I left the house to go run errands, and when I came home, he had painted the fence what he called redwood stain, clearly red. I have photos for the court.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the photos. Now, did he paint your side of the fence too?
No, he was smart enough not to do that.
Just a second. So he just a second.
Excuse me?
So he painted the side of the fence.
Your Honor, that fence is on my property, not his.
Mr. Catcherside, pay attention to me. He painted the side of the fence that faces his property a red stain. I'm forming a visual.
Here's
telling.
a perfect visual picture.
I want you to answer my question.
Okay.
So he painted the fence that only the side that faced his property, a fence that you put in the contract he was to pay for half of, a color that he wanted.
No, I didn't agree to a color he wanted.
No. What he did was he painted the side of the fence. You know, you're obstinate. He painted a fence that he was required to pay half for.
Which did not.
You're not paying attention.
Okay. All right.
A color that pleased him. That's what you're complaining about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'll take a look at your picture.
In the pictures, it does show the property line where the fence is built on my property. He had to trespass onto my property to paint the fence.
Is what you're telling me, sir, that by walking up to this fence to paint it or to have it painted, he was on your property?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, baloney. Baloney.
Well, he was, ma'am.
Baloney.
There's pictures there that show
baloney. That faces his house.
It may face his house, but it's on my property. I paid $4,500. He paid $7,000.
Now, this is the color that you're complaining about?
That's the color of my house. That's the color I painted without any question my fence.
Just a second. You painted this, so this is what you look at.
Yes, ma'am.
That matches the trim of your house.
Yes, ma'am.
And this red here
faces my house. My house is in the backdrop.
Just a second. This is your house.
Yes, ma'am.
On the other side of this is his house.
A complete property over.
I want you to answer my question. Yes. Around all the property.
Yes, ma'am.
The only way you can see this color is by going around all the fences and looking from his side of the property.
No, ma'am, that's not the only way.
Well, what other way can you do it? You can do it with a drone.
It's completely visible to the rest of the neighborhood, anybody on the street, anybody on the sidewalk.
Who cares? That has nothing to do with you. They may like this color. It has nothing to do with you. So your house is completely surrounded by a fence that's painted this dark color that's consistent with your trim on your house, which it absolutely is consistent with the trim on your house. And that's the only thing that you see when you look out your windows. Am I making myself clear? Do you understand that? I want to make sure that 10 million people understand this. When you look out your kitchen window, your living room window, your bedroom window, your bathroom window, the only color fence you see from inside your house, from your backyard, that your children see, that your grandchildren see, that your wife sees, is this color fence. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He picks up a Pepsi can and throws it at me, and I just,
Just a second. Are you telling me that the soda can, be careful what you answer, because I have what you wrote.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Ketcherside says neighbor Ronald Tichenor owes for the cost to repair a fence, a false restraining order, harassment, and defamation. Ronald is countersuing for assault, elder abuse, and pain and suffering.
Now you come home and you see that he has painted the fence that faces his property a color that you didn't like. And what do?
I went over to his house, went inside his house.
Just a second. Let's do this slowly. You went to his house.
I went to his house.
Was his door open?
The front door was open. The screen door was closed.
Did you ring a bell?
No, he saw me coming.
Don't tell me what he saw. Did you ring a bell?
No.
Did you knock at the door?
No.
Did someone say, come in?
Yes.
Who?
He did, and his helper there.
So you
She
stood
actually
out.
opened the door for me to come in.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
You're his home health aide?
Yeah. I'm with him.
Do you live together, or are you his aide?
No, we're good friends.
Okay, so she let you...
Sitting on his couch, on the end of the couch.
And what did you do?
I stood back away from him at least 8 feet.
How far away?
I was at least 8 feet away. The coffee table and the living room distance was between me and him. I just stepped in through the door.
And?
And I pointed my finger at him like this, and raised my voice and told him how mad I was and upset. And
No, I want you to tell me exactly what you said.
I said, I am so upset with you right now, Ron. I just don't know what to do. The only recourse I'm going to have is to take you to court. And he started calling me a son of a... And I turned around and left. As I got about 3 feet away from the front door, he still was calling me a son of a... and told me he was going to get even with me and take care of me. God. Well, I already know that he has a history...
No.
Okay.
Don't tell me what you know. So you said...
So, knowing that he has a rifle standing at his door, I turned around and went back in, and I said, are you going to threaten me?
No, just a second. Now, you're almost out the door. And when you went back in, where did you go back in?
I went back in about 3 or 4 feet closer to him.
So now,
there was a coffee table between us.
Where you were 8 feet away when you were pointing your finger at him.
No, I wasn't pointing my finger at him that time.
No, you were 8 feet away from him and pointing your finger at him. You were 8 feet away.
Right.
Now he says, I know, whatever, and you know he's got a rifle, and you know, so then you turned around and came back and went closer to him.
Yes, ma'am.
So now instead of being 8 feet away, you're 3 feet away.
No, I was about 4 feet away.
Now you're 4 feet away.
It does make a difference, Your Honor.
4 feet. So now you're 4 feet away. So what's separating you from where the defendant is sitting on the sofa?
The corner of his coffee table.
And then?
Well, first he repeats what I am again, and I said, you'd better stop saying that. You're not insulting me. You're insulting my mother.
Oh,
and I'm
get
not
over.
going to put up with that. I'm sorry, Your Honor. That's why I was raised.
Come on. Let's go.
So,
let's go.
Anyway, he just kept saying it, and then he picks up a Pepsi can and throws it at me, and I swerved where he couldn't hit me with it. When I swerved, he still hit me in the chest.
Just a second. Are you telling me that the soda can, because he did throw a soda can, he says he threw it on the floor in frustration. I don't believe that because I read your answer. But now are you telling me that the soda can, pay careful attention because I have what you wrote. Now are you telling me that the soda can hit you in the chest? He made one mistake in what you wrote. Are you telling me now that the soda can hit you in the chest?
Yes, ma'am, it did. It's in the police statement. That's what I said.
Oh, just a second. I'm just going to read it right here. You never said in your complaint that the soda can hit you in the chest? This is what you said. Because that would be important if actually the thing that he propelled hit you. You said he was enraged. He called me and threw a soda can at me. I lost my balance and fell over him.
Yes, ma'am.
I regained my balance and left the house.
That was the physical part of it. I didn't, in the complaint, put that the can hit me. I did say to the policeman it hit me.
You didn't put the can hit you because it never happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Punitive damages for stress, harassment, and defamation. I'd like to hear witnesses to testify to that.
In his own filing of his lawsuit against me, he states that I lied under oath.
You did lie under oath to me today, sir, at least twice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Catcher-Side claims neighbor Ronald Tichenor owes for offense a ration.
Now, the police were called. You told that story to the police that he hit you with a soda can so they wouldn't arrest you for assaulting him.
No, ma'am.
Just a second.
I don't lie. I don't lie.
Who called the police?
He called the police
right.
while I was at the police department making a statement. It says so right in the police report.
I want to see the police report.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You have your copy of the police report? I'd like to see it. I want you to read this police report and you tell me anywhere, sir, that it says that you told the police that the soda can hit you in the stomach. That's the police report you handed me. Point it out. I may be missing it. Bird will give you a pen.
I apologize, Your Honor. I thought I put it in this police statement.
Right.
But the fact is, he threw the Pepsi can at me. When I tried to miss it, my hip that's scheduled to be replaced gave out on me, and that's why I lunged forward.
You know, I want to tell.
But I never had physical contact with him. They both admitted in the police report.
Don't tell me what they admitted. So far, Mr. Kirchner, you understand that I'm not completely sympathetic with your position.
Yes.
The color of the trim on your house and the fact that you were irritated by that, and there's no question that you went into his house and you were irritated. Now, he's, I would say, slightly more frail than you are.
Yes, ma'am, exactly why a Marine would not do anything to him.
Just a second. Then you should have gotten control of yourself before you went storming over to the house. Because you're storming over to the house, somebody who can. So far, we've had 3 discrepancies, sir. We've had a discrepancy over the filing of the complaint. We've had a discrepancy, you and I, as to whether or not you were actually hit with the soda can, which you weren't. You and I have had a discrepancy on whether or not you were protecting your mother's honor when he called you, because that's the way you were raised. You have to understand that I find all of those things suspect. The truth of the matter is, you were royally miffed.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
not denying that.
And you went over to his home in an aggressive manner. Now, does that justify him throwing a soda can at you? No. Does it justify you becoming more aggressive and coming back into the house? The answer is no. So the second part of your case is whether or not I feel, based only upon what you told me, not even in filing for a protective order to prevent you from coming over to his house again. I find that he was perfectly justified in seeking
the other judge didn't think so.
That's what makes a ball game. He may have believed the baloney story that you just told me about defending your mother's honor. I find that he was perfectly justified in wanting to keep you away from his house. The second part of your lawsuit has to do with the painting of the side of the fence that faces his house and damages for that. I'm dismissing that. I believe that he doesn't have to look at a brown fence facing his house if it's inconsistent with what pleases his eye, just as you don't have to look at a color that's inconsistent with what pleases you. Now, I have to see what other possible lawsuit you have here. Punitive damages for stress, harassment, and defamation. Well, now, I'll hear the defamation part of your claim. You know what defamation is?
Falsely making statements about me in public.
I'd like to hear witnesses to testify to that.
In his own filing of his lawsuit against me, he states that I lied under oath.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of an assault? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
So pay careful attention to me. Your case is dismissed.
Fine.
Now, you're not leaving yet. Money owed for assault, punitive damages for elder abuse. Now, Mr. Teachner.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no question he never hit you.
No, he didn't.
Okay? I'm going to read the police report again.
All right.
I spoke to Ruth Gage. That's you.
Yeah.
Who was at Ronald's house during the incident. Gage said that there was something thrown and Bobby fell close to Ronald. Gage said that neither side actually physically touched each other during the incident. That's what you told the police, correct? Yeah, good. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye, gentlemen. We're done.
You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was broke, Your Honor. It was my only option.
A mom continues to lean on her ex.
You weren't living together as husband and wife. You were supposed to pay rent.
He did tell me we will figure this out.
We're here to figure it out.
Judge Judy.
It's been paid for something on his own property and not have the right to paint it the color that he wants.
I think Judge Judy is one of the smartest judges I ever talked to.
I was pretty frustrated. That's why I went over there and started yelling at him.
He is an angry, angry person.
I had to turn over my weapons or be arrested.
I hope he goes to heaven just like I hope I go to heaven.
Their wedding spared no expense.
It was beautifully staged. It was in a beautiful venue.
But the wedding video.
I paid her $250.
A bell would have gone off in my head. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Won't be up for any awards.
We was very specific and detailed about what we wanted.
She gave you that product because that's the best she could do. Why did you do a lousy job?
I believe I did a great job on it.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Maurice Wright is suing his wedding videographer, Najea Fitchie Burris, for the return of her fee, plus damages for aggravation.
Order. All rise.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Wright, you retained Miss Burris for the purpose of videotaping your wedding.
Yes.
Is that right? Did you go to school for this?
Yes.
Okay. It's Miss Burris. It's Fitchie?
Yes, that's my nickname, yes.
When you retained her, did you get references from her?
No, I didn't get references from her, no.
Did you know her?
No, I didn't.
How did you find her?
My best man and best friend is actually friends with her and went to school with her, and it was a recommendation from him.
Okay. And you didn't ask for any references or to see any work that she had done before?
He showed me some of her work online that she's done.
How much did you pay Miss Burris?
I paid her $250.
Well, that's certainly a very reasonable price, as you know, for being a videographer.
Right.
How long did she spend at your wedding?
She was there from anywhere from maybe like 2, 3 through the whole night. My wedding was over at 1 a.m.
So the whole day?
Basically, yes. From makeup, hair, getting dressed, and all those things.
And that was all covered by the $250?
Yes.
And you never paid Miss Burris any more than $250?
No.
Okay, now you're suing her for $1,800, which is you're suing her for the return of your money and for other aggravation.
Yes.
Well, we don't get aggravation. There's no cause of action for aggravation. Because you say you want your money back because you didn't get what you bargained for.
Right.
And since there's a TV screen here, you're going to show me the videotape of what you got.
Yes.
Go. Okay.
We sat down and met with her because we met with her together. We was very specific and detailed about what we wanted. And in terms of the price being so low, we never asked her for a discount or look. That's what she charged us.
It's not Mr. Wright asking her for a discount. I agree with you that I don't think that I would be happy having spent as much money as you spent, clearly, on this wedding. It was beautifully staged. It was in a beautiful venue. The cake itself was more expensive, I'm absolutely positive, than the video, than what you paid the videographer, because I've done weddings and I've done affairs and I know what that wedding cake cost. And I would not be happy with the quality of this video. You don't get your money back. Don't refer her to anybody else. But the next time, if you're ever planning a function, I suggest you go to somebody who you check their credentials, you look at the work that they've done, that they supply you, you check the references for this important date, because this falls under the category, Mr. Wright, of you get what you pay for. You charged her $250 for a full day's work. She clearly came while you were getting dressed, stayed through the ceremony, stayed through the party, took whatever video she took of to another venue where you and your husband walked away together. So it wasn't that she didn't show up. It's that she didn't do what you considered a great job. I agree with you. You don't get your money back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She didn't give you that product because she only charged you $250. She gave you that product because that's the best she could do. I assume now, if you say, no, it's not the best you can do?
No.
Really?
No.
Well, then why did you do a lousy job?
And later today,
if I believed your Bubba Meister story that somebody stole your license plate because they wanted to put it on their gold Honda Accent.
Wow.
Wow.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maurice Wright says videographer Fitchy Burris ruined his wedding video.
Now, you can complain about it someplace on the internet if you like and say, I used this videographer and I was unhappy with her service because I don't think it's professionally done. I don't think it's well lit. I don't think it's well composed. My personal opinion. I don't think it's well edited. My opinion. But that doesn't mean that he gets his money back. Do you understand? You invited all the people there and you picked a menu and it turned out that you didn't like the food. You don't get your money back. If the food was served cold, you don't get your money back. Everybody ate it. If they didn't want to eat the cold food, they ate something else. Or they didn't, but you don't get your money back. You don't recommend the venue again. Now, if the venue closes down and doesn't show up to accommodate your wedding, then you get your money back. If she never showed up to do the wedding, if she didn't show up to do the wedding.
Can I speak on that?
She did show up for the wedding, sir. I just saw what she did.
She did, but, however, the second videographer who she hired never showed up. As you see me getting dressed, he never showed up to the house.
You had two videographers for $250?
Right, her partner.
Oh,
but
Mr. Wright,
he was
Mr. Wright, you get what you pay for. $250. You want two videographers for the whole day.
But like I said, I told her when we talked that charge me. Our wedding was at no expense.
If she's only charging you $250.
But we told her to charge us, though. We wasn't expecting any kind of deals.
You're not following me, sir. That's the price she gave you. A bell would have gone off in my head. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Don't charge me more. I'm going to look into a videographer. Go ahead and said, you know what, it's only $250. Maybe this is somebody that I want to hire for my day. Not, you charge $250, that's not enough. Why don't you charge me more? You mean you would have been happy if she charged you more and gave you that product? She didn't give you that product because she only charged you $250. She gave you that product because that's the best she could do. I assume, well, don't, now, if you say, no, it's not the best you can do?
No.
Really?
No.
Well, then why did you do a lousy job?
I believe I did a great job on it.
Well, it's not.
Because their wedding was not lit well. Me, personally, as a videographer, they had a dark wedding.
Let me explain something to you. That video is not shot well. It's not edited well. It's not lit well. And you're the videographer.
That's okay.
You're supposed to ensure that all those things are done.
That's okay. That's
and I don't think that you did it on purpose. I don't think that you shot it badly on purpose. I think that was up to your skill.
That's your
it.
opinion.
Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Excuse me, step out.
It is what it is. I mean, she did a terrible job.
He actually called me and said he loved the video.
She sucked. I'll never use her again. I'll never recommend her again.
The only thing this was about was raw footage that he wanted that he did not pay for.
We had so many sentimental moments that it'll never happen again.
Everyone likes my footage.
She's a poor artist. I don't see how she has a degree in something that she sucked in.
He just wanted to fame my character, that's all.
Matter Wazir Raleigh versus Dukes. Step forward.
Ehab Wazirli is suing Kim Dukes for a hit-and-run accident in a college parking lot.
Mr. Wazirli.
Yes.
Your car was parked in a parking lot at a university, and it was hit by another car. You were not present when that happened, nor were there any witnesses that you have to that incident. It is your claim that the defendant is responsible for that because at the scene of the hit and run, you found a set of license plates. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you traced those license plates to Mr. Dukes.
That's right.
And therefore you put those two pieces together and assumed that Mr. Dukes was responsible for the accident. You have since sold the car, you claim, at a reduced price, and you want him to be responsible for all kinds of things, including you were here on a short-term visa, so the plan was to keep the car for a short term and sell it before I had to return in May. After this, the car didn't function the same, and it wasn't safe, so I sold it at a reduced value, and I'm now renting a car in May, and you want him to pay for all of that.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Of somebody stealing your license plate and then putting it on the exact same car that you have, which hit the plaintiff's car, I want to hear that story. And then I'm going to call the Disney company.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ehab Wazirli says motorist Kim Dukes hit his parked car and fled the scene. Kim denies the charge.
Now, even if it was him who hit your car, that's not the way it works. You take a picture of your car, you take it in for an estimate. If I find that he's responsible for the damage, then he has to pay to have the car fixed. He doesn't pay for your rental car for a year and for the reduced value of the car that you sold. That's not how we gauge your damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. So, first, tell me on what date this occurred.
This occurred on the 28th of September.
And on what date did you sell the car?
End of December.
So you drove it in October, November, and December. You drove it for 3 months.
Nope. I drove the car for a month and a half.
So you drove the car for a month and a half.
The car was drivable, right? So here are the two pictures.
I'd like to see them.
Yes. Now these two pictures are right after the accident.
Okay, so somebody hit your bumper.
Yep, and the trunk, yes.
And the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, where did you find the license plate that you say connects Mr. Dukes to the car?
When I arrived at the scene, there were two LAPD officers. They told me that they found
You can't tell me what they told you, because that's hearsay.
Yes.
If you have a report from the officers, I will read it.
Yes, I do have a report
I'd
from
like to see
LAPD.
it.
Here you go.
What kind of car do you drive, Mr. Dukes?
A 2014 Accent Hyundai.
The security guard who called the police reported that he saw a Honda hit the plaintiff's car. What color is your car?
My car is gold.
That's what the security officer says that he saw. I'm going to tell you exactly what the security officer said he saw, Mr. Dukes. USC unit received security, Earl, with a phone number, who stated a possible gold Honda Accent, license plate number 7L. Is that your license plate?
Not anymore.
It was.
It was.
Collided with a parked vehicle at 37th Place. So that was your license plate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your answer says, Mr. Dukes, that it was your license plate, but your license plate was stolen.
Not once, but twice.
So what you want me to believe, Mr. Dukes, is that your license plate was stolen and they put it on another gold Honda Accent. Look, that's what I would have to believe, Mr. Dukes. That's what I would have to believe, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
If I believed your Bubba Meister story that somebody stole your license plate because they wanted to put it on their gold Honda Accent.
Wow.
Wow. That would be a big stretch for me, Mr. Dukes. Did you get an estimate to fix your car, sir?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to see it. What do you got here? I have a statement from the security guard that he saw your car with your license plate, and after you hit his car, you reported your license plate stolen and got another license plate.
May I say this?
You can say whatever you want, sir, unless you can explain to me the serendipity of somebody stealing your license plate and then putting it on the exact same car that you have, which hit the plaintiff's car. I want to hear that story, and then I'm going to call the Disney company.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Go ahead.
Well, during that period, right after I got my car, I was back and forth from Los Angeles to Palmdale, from Palmdale to Bakersfield during that time. So I don't know how he could possibly have seen my car.
He didn't see it. He didn't see it. Security officer saw it, took down your car, described your car and your license plate as the car that hit his car.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
Okay, good. I understand it, too. So your out-of-pocket would have been what, sir, on this 2012 Jetta? You're out if you had insurance.
Yes.
Yes.
They had was only liability. It was not full coverage.
Right.
And I do have that here.
I'd like to see it.
Yes.
So I assume you did not have the car fixed?
No.
Okay. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all. We're done.
Please excuse. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She said you were a drunk and a drug abuser.
But could he be trusted to live under her roof?
You stated that the plaintiff stole your pills.
I can't prove anything.
What were those pills doing in your room?
Judge Judy.
It's her decision. There's nothing I can think about it.
His license plate was stuck onto my car.
I was not there.
He was the registered owner of the car at the time of the accident.
I was not there. This security or whatever, I have no idea.
Just carry on your own investigation. Don't depend on the police.
When I had left him before, I had filed for divorce, though, originally. This was actually our second divorce.
Their final breakup wasn't so final.
You were conveniently divorced again and living together again.
I was broke, Your Honor. It was my only option.
You weren't living together as husband and wife. You were supposed to pay rent.
He did tell me, do not worry about it. We will figure this out.
That's what we're here for. We're here to figure it out.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Tanya Boggs is suing her ex-husband, Jonathan Boggs, for a loan, money owed for a truck, and property damage.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 541 on the calendar, the matter Boggs versus Boggs.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
When did you first marry Mr. Boggs?
I had first married Mr. Boggs in 2008.
You have a child. When was that child born?
He was born in 2009.
And where were you and Mr. Boggs living then?
We were actually living with my grandmother and grandfather at the time.
Did you ever move out of your grandmother's house?
Yes, we moved out shortly after my grandfather died.
And where did you go?
Well, I moved into a place we had separated. I moved into...
In what year?
2013.
So you lived in your grandmother's house from 2008 until 2013?
Yes.
Were you working?
I actually get Social Security disability for some medical issues I have.
And what about you? Were you working?
I do some sales.
Okay. So you separated in 2013?
Yes.
And where were you living then?
I had actually gotten an apartment in the downtown area of where we were from, and shortly after that, we had reconciled and had tried to make things work for our son's sake.
When you say shortly after that, in what year?
2014.
And how long did that last?
Less than a year.
Did he move out?
Yes, he had actually moved out. We had filed for divorce.
When? In what year?
We filed for divorce at the end of 2014.
Just a second. So you're living together, reconciled, and who filed for divorce?
I did.
While you were living together?
Yes. Well,
while you were living together?
We had just separated at the time.
Month?
November 2015. 14, sorry.
What month did you move out of the house? Look at me. What month did you move out of the house?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Well, try. Was it before Christmas or after Christmas?
It was before Christmas.
Was it before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
After Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving. So somewhere the end of November or the beginning of December. I'm waiting for an answer.
I'm not for sure, Your Honor.
Where did you go?
I went and looked for an apartment.
Where did you go? I didn't ask you what you looked for. I said, where did you go when you moved out?
I went to my mother's house, Your Honor.
Is that where you are now? And year you got your own place?
I got my place in... Let's see here.
We're not talking about decades ago, sir. Don't try to think about the case. Just try to think about giving me truthful answers to my questions.
Oh, they're all true, Your Honor. I'm just trying to think about...
Well, they're all true, so figure it out. You moved into your mother's place the end of November, beginning of December of 2014. Now I want to know when you moved into your own place.
August of this year.
No, August of 2015.
Yes.
And you filed it for divorce in what month?
I had actually filed for divorce for the second time in November 2014. This was actually our second divorce.
What do you mean second divorce? I don't understand second divorce.
When I had left him before, I had filed for divorce originally, and when we had tried to reconcile, I thought it would be in the best interest of our child. So we had gotten married again.
So you not only filed for divorce, you were divorced.
We were originally divorced. Then we had gotten back together, got remarried.
In what month and year were you remarried?
April 19, 2014.
And that lasted until November of 2014?
Yes.
And then you filed again and he moved in with his mother?
Yes. Shortly after that, we had actually both had become homeless due to some friends of ours causing some trouble. I had to live with my mother for...
In November of 2014, did you ever live together again?
We did. That's what I was going to say. After I had to move in with my mother.
I don't care. Wait. All I want to know is, after you filed for divorce for the second time, in November of 2014, did you and Mr. Boggs live together?
Yes, we had...
Give me the month.
February 3rd, 2015. Me and him and a friend of ours had decided to go in and split a mobile home that was a 3-bedroom that we could all share.
Now, that didn't happen overnight.
No.
Then you decide, well, in November, you file for divorce sometime after Thanksgiving. So you really have December and January, and you moved into a mobile home February 3rd. Well, something happened in December and January between the two of you. Otherwise, you don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I filed for divorce, but I think we're going to rent a mobile home together. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I do.
Great. Well, let's hear a truthful thing that I can understand.
Well, the reason
you filed for divorce, and then?
We filed for divorce. We had separated. Then I had become homeless, having to live with my mother. And as having a child together, I had no other choice. I was broke, Your Honor. It was my only option.
So this only option, divorce, you moved back in together in a mobile home with your still husband, because he's still your husband. If you file for divorce in November, you're not divorced by February. So he's still your husband.
Yes.
And how long do you stay in the mobile home with him?
I actually moved out in December when I had come up with the money to be able to move.
Just a minute. So you were there from February 3rd, 2015 until December
18th.
18th of 2015.
Yes.
Great. So you were there for a while. Now, while you were in the mobile home, Mr. Boggs, there were 3 bedrooms. You had another friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have a child together?
Yes.
Where did the child sleep?
He had his own bedroom. She slept on the couch.
Who slept on the couch?
Angie.
Your wife?
She slept in the bedroom, and I slept in the other bedroom with my son on the floor.
And when was the divorce finalized?
It was finalized on June 8th, 2015.
And you moved out of the house when?
I was able to obtain my own place and move out on December 18th, 2015.
So that there was a period of time when you were not divorced and were living in the house, and then you were divorced and remained living together in the mobile home. Do I get that right?
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
Yes.
All right. And here, conveniently, after the divorce is filed, your complaint is that in July, a year after the divorce is finalized, you sold your now freshly minted ex-husband a truck, and he agreed to pay you back for the truck with his tax returns.
Yes.
Ordinarily, you wouldn't have had extra money, you say. However, in October of 2015, again, you got a settlement from a lawsuit. What kind of lawsuit?
I'm actually not at liberty to disclose that according to the lawsuit agreement.
Okay. You received a settlement from a lawsuit, and Mr. Boggs asked to borrow some money, so I lent him $29.17 in November and December. This is about when you were ready to move out.
Yes, I have already started obtaining a place at that time, finding one.
And 2 sugar gliders, which actually, when I read your complaint, I looked it up. They're these cute little animals. They're from, I think, South America or something. They look like little monkeys. If you look them up, they're very tiny. They have sweet faces. They're called sugar gliders. And then they got into an argument, and he broke her phone. He admits he broke her phone, but said he gave it to her, so it was...
I shut it up in the trunk of the car.
Why?
For despite, Your Honor.
What?
For despite.
What did he say?
For spite.
For spite?
Yeah, for despite.
Well, tell me about the spite.
We was arguing, and I just shut it up in the trunk.
Why were you arguing? You were divorced.
Over the gliders, Your Honor.
You were arguing over the gliders?
She bought the gliders for me and my son, Your Honor.
And?
And she was trying to charge me for them.
What do you mean she was trying to charge you for them?
Well, she's trying to say that I owe her for them.
Did she take them with her?
No, I got them in my apartment.
So you have the gliders?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would she buy you gliders?
I get my son about every other weekend, and that's what we both like, is them gliders.
Okay, well, why didn't you buy your own gliders?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Now, what did she give you money for?
For a lot of things, Your Honor. I've done a lot of buying things. I think it was for the flea market items that I wanted to buy. So I buy storage buildings, and I went to an auction and bought a couple storage auction buildings.
And?
I used that money to buy that.
But she gave you the money. Tell me how it came about that she gave you the money.
Well, I asked her for the $2,900.
What did you say to her?
I just asked her, did she got $2,900 I can borrow?
And I want you to tell me about the truck now, because she says that she sold you a truck.
Yeah, she sold me a truck for $1,500. Why I didn't pay her was...
What?
She paid me $300 to move in, okay?
So you mean to the trailer?
Yeah, to the trailer. And then from March to December, she didn't pay me.
Why not?
Actually, in
March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. That's 9 months. Why didn't you pay him?
In March, I had found out that my checks from disability was being discontinued because as of him being in the same home, it is considered as us to be still together with a child, a common child.
Now we're getting somewhere. I knew that you have to do is follow the money. So your checks were going to be discontinued because you were conveniently divorced again and living together again.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Are you back on disability?
Yes, now that I have my own place, they have started my disability back.
You got your own place now. How far away from Mr. Boggs do you live?
About 10 miles.
About 10 miles. And how often do you see your son, Mr. Boggs?
I get him every other weekend.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself, Your Honor.
You have a lease?
Yes.
And how much is your rent?
$475 plus utilities.
Okay, so you didn't pay rent. You were supposed to pay rent. According to him, according to you, you weren't living together as husband and wife. You were supposed to pay rent. You didn't. So he has a counterclaim for rent. And he says, yeah, you sold him the truck, but you didn't pay rent for 9 months that you lived there. How much was your share of the rent?
My share of the rent was supposed to be $3. When I had found out that I was going to be losing it, do not worry about it. We will figure this out.
Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to figure it out. That's what you're for. Well, $2,700 in rent, $2,900 loan, that almost cancels itself out. But we're still talking about the truck, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
In total, $2,900 and $1,400 is, according to my rudimentary math, $4,300. She owes you $2,700 in rent. Because according to both of you, you're not living together trying to defraud the government out of disability. You're not trying to defraud anybody. And I believe you. Not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
You mean you got a statement that says the rug was damaged and I took $100?
$150, actually.
You mean that was the only thing that was wrong in the apartment that they kept security deposit for?
It was a house. No, it wasn't the only thing.
Well, that's what I want to see.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Boggs says ex-husband Jonathan Boggs owes for a loan, a truck, and damaged property. Jonathan has a countersuit for unpaid rent.
Now, if you were living together as roommates and she was supposed to pay rent, then we have to deduct the $2,700 from the $2,900. I'd like to see it.
I have not given him no money for rent at all, except for the original $300.
No, $2,900 for the loan.
Oh,
I'd
for
like
the loan.
to see that.
Yes, it's actually, the loans were actually for multiple items. This is all the receipts I have paid out for little minor loans here and there. And then part of the loan was as well as a car I had purchased for him.
Oh, I don't care about a car you purchased. Listen, did she give you $2,900 in one lump sum or in little things that you charged?
It was in little things, Your Honor. Just little here, there, and yonder.
I want to take a look at this. This is
and
fascinating.
What I've done was I just...
Here we have an oil change, something for his car. This isn't stuff for...
Some of this stuff
This isn't just a second. This is such a lot of baloney. I'm almost ready to get rid of all of you. This is for Walmart.
He was ready.
T-shirts, logo, a bonefish, a T-shirt, a haircut. I want to see where he says he wanted to buy things for the flea market. You loaned him $2,900. Anybody have any proof of that, or am I getting ready to say sayonara to both of you?
He never asked me to give him money for the flea market stuff. He asked me for little loans here and there and kept promising me he would pay me with his tax
returns. You were living together, keeping house together. Not interested. Anything else you want to tell me? Don't believe either one of you. Goodbye.
I have fought for years with this guy, and I'm done.
It is what it is, and she's not right.
I had received it, this was well after we were divorced.
It just is what it is.
I had received it, and he kind of took advantage of me on that.
No, it just is what it is.
I'm going to stay single and love my son, that's it.
I just don't want to talk about it.
Don't. It's a mistake. They never change.
Don't get married again.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jezik versus Roth. Step forward.
Kevin Jezik is suing his ex-roommate, Matthew Roth, for the return of his security deposit and rent.
Let me see if I can put together generally what I think that this case is about. You rented a room initially from Mr. Roth in a house. And that house was either sold or lease was up, whatever it is. And Mr. Roth said to you that he was buying a new house.
That's correct.
And asked you if you would like to rent a room in this new house because in order to cover his expenses, he was going to have to rent out rooms in the house.
Correct.
And you said, yeah, you're pretty reasonable. You know, it's been an okay experience. And he said to you, but you have to give me a deposit for the room, which you did. And how much was that deposit?
$400.
Did you give him any other money?
Originally, when we had the rental agreement, there was
the other $100.
That was back when we originally, in the first house in July, yes.
Did you get that back?
No.
So that was $100.
Yes.
Okay. So you're suing him now for $500 because you didn't move into that room.
Correct.
In the new house.
Correct.
And you say that was not your fault. And you want your security deposit back.
Right, Your Honor. However, I did offer to move in with him, but he refused to let me in the house.
He's going to tell me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you have someone living in the room?
No, I live by myself.
Do you like it?
Absolutely.
Then I assume that you've chosen not to have a roommate.
I just don't want the headache that I wound up with this whole thing again.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kevin Jezik is suing his ex-roommate, Matthew Roth, for the return of his security deposit and rent.
Now, the $100, Mr. Roth says, well, in the old place you damaged a rug that you promised you would pay for. Whose rug was that, sir?
It was not the rug. It was the carpet in his room.
A carpet?
The carpet in the room, yes.
Okay. And did that carpet belong to you?
No, it was part of the person I was renting the house from.
And do you have an itemization from that person that indicated that they were taking money out of your security deposit for that rug? Is it a statement outlining everything?
Oh, no, I don't have that. I just simply got a statement from him for it.
You mean you got a statement that says the rug was damaged and I took $100?
$150, actually, yes.
Oh. No. You mean that was the only thing that was wrong in the apartment that they kept security deposit for?
It was a house, and no, it wasn't the only thing.
Well, that's what I want to see. The owner usually gives you a statement. I'm keeping your security deposit or so much of it because this is wrong, and the sink was bad, and this was bad, whatever.
No, I did not get anything like that.
Well, then you have to give him back his $100.
Okay.
All right, good. Now, when did you buy this new house?
I bought the house in September.
And when were you supposed to move into the house?
November 6th.
And where were you living between September and November 6th?
I found another place to live with my witness, Rich. I was staying there in the meantime. However, there were so many uncertainties of when this new house was going to be available. I let Mr. Roth know I was not going to be returning.
You were not going to be returning?
That's correct.
When did you let him know?
I let him know that on October 14th. Also, there was another... Sorry, Your Honor.
Now, on October 14th, did Mr. Jessic let you know that he was not going to move into the apartment?
No, Your Honor.
To the new house?
That's completely not
When did he tell you?
A week prior to November 6th, him and I both sat down to, let him know the move-in date, which was always November 6th.
Okay.
Okay. And a week prior to that, he told me he would not, which was $50 less than the current $400 a month rent. At that time, I said I would match that.
Just a minute. And he said no?
He said no. He didn't want to leave the guy hanging.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, you couldn't have had anyone move in with you because you didn't own the house until November 6th.
Correct.
Now, we are several months later. Do you have someone living in the room?
No, I do not.
Who lives there in the house with you?
I live by myself.
Do you like it?
I'm sorry?
Do you like it?
Absolutely.
Well, then I assume that you've chosen not to have a roommate.
I just don't want the headache that I wound up with this whole thing again.
So that you've chosen not to have a roommate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have to give him his money back.
Okay.
Great. That's so easy. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. We're done.
Excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Leo the dog, he ran up and then he bit me.
But did he deserve it?
Wild poked fingers in dogs' eyes, pulled tails, and harassed the dogs.
Next Judge Judy.
There was a disagreement.
He just backed out last minute, week prior to move in.
And I had no idea when he was going to be moving into his location.
Said he wasn't going to move in. That's simple.
Dates kept changing.
Don't know what the situation was. He backed out. I had no idea.
Well, there wasn't difficulty until he...
You'd have to ask him.
Until I realized that I was going to be backing out, then things became difficult.
I'm done.
Judge Judy, I'm sorry, but I did not lock him out.
This landlord swears her tenant was still welcome.
I came home and found a lock on the gate with a note on it saying I no longer live there.
She said you were a drunk and a drug abuser.
But could he be trusted to live under her roof?
You stated that the plaintiff stole your pills.
I called the deputy and I told him I can't prove anything.
What were those pills doing in your room?
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Steven Cernagorak is suing his former roommate, Carol Dillard, for an illegal eviction, stolen property, and false charges.
Order. All rise. Now, it's case number 569 on the calendar in the matter of Cernagorak versus Dillard. Have a seat.
Mr. Cernagorak, you rented a room from Miss Dillard. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
In her house?
Yes.
You rented that room and moved in at the end of July of last year.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she illegally evicted you from the room? that she unceremoniously tossed your property out, causing some to be damaged, some to get lost, and she filed false charges against you. For what? I don't know. Miss Dillard says that you didn't pay rent. Your room was a pig pen. She had to pay somebody to clean it up, and she's got a counterclaim. She also says, I don't think she denies actually that she locked you out. She said that you were a drunk and a drug abuser and you took your stuff that she threw out and you moved next door or across the street to be with friends. Now you can speak.
He moved in the end of September.
End of September?
End of September.
Do you have any proof when you moved in, Mr. Serganak?
It was the last week of August, Your Honor.
Well, first you told me it was the last week of July. Now you're telling me it's the last week of August?
Well, last week of July, Your Honor.
I thought you just said it was the last week in August.
No, I was wrong.
Do you have anything to prove that, sir?
No, it all got thrown away.
What?
From paying rent and the monthly rental agreement I had with her.
Mm-hmm. Where did you live before you moved in with Miss Dillard?
With another friend.
Your friend's name?
Hastings.
How long did you live with Miss Hastings?
3 months.
And before you lived with Miss Hastings, where did you live?
I had a place of my own.
For how long?
For 2.5 years.
What happened to that place?
The people that owned it sold it.
What happened at Miss Hastings' place that you left?
Nothing. She still lives there.
Well, why did you leave?
It was just, she was a high school friend that was doing me a favor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a retired building inspector.
You get a pension?
I get Social Security.
But no pension?
No.
And your only source of income is Social Security?
Yes.
How much do you collect from Social Security?
I make $1,045 a month.
And how much was your rent at Miss Dillard's room?
Well, it started out at $300 a month. She was giving me the extra week for $75, which would also make it $300 a month. Then when the 3rd came, which was our agreement for me to pay rent, because I get my check on the 3rd, I paid her the $75 I owed her. I went to pay her the $300. She says, no, now it's $400.
And that was in what month?
The end of July.
You didn't move in till the end of July.
That was the last week I was talking about was the last week of August.
When did you move out?
November 3rd is when I came home and found it lock on the gate around the property with a note on it saying I no longer live there.
So you say you lived there for 3 months?
Yes.
How long do you say you lived there?
He moved in the end of September. I let him move, not really move in, but he was gradually bringing his stuff because he had no vehicle. And I said that was fine. And it's $400 a month and $200 for deposit.
What month did he move in?
End of September.
And what date did he move out?
It was sometime in November.
Well, you should know. You locked him out.
I did not lock him out. My gate was open. My house is always open. I never changed the locks. They're still the same. I have dogs that go in and out, and the front door's there.
I helped take his stuff to a house across the street where his friends lived.
There were people that we both knew that lived across there, and they gave him a room to move into. They all drank. They were younger people. And the night before he moved, I told him to go over there and see where your bedroom is and check it all out. And he came back and it was fine. And he had started putting some stuff in packing his stuff. So you can see it's laid out here. Him out by moving that over there so that I could get that room clean.
Who are you?
A witness, friend.
Do you live with him? Did you ever live with him?
He lived with me for a while, yes.
Before or after he lived with Miss Dillard?
Before and after.
Before and after. Now stand up.
Yes.
What's your last name?
Rogie.
Mr. Logie, you live across the street from Miss Dillard?
No, I don't.
Where do you live?
I live about 4 miles from her.
Okay. Did he move in with you immediately after leaving Miss Dillard's or sometime thereafter?
Sometime thereafter.
What month?
Somewhere at the end of November.
Who else lives with you?
I live with myself.
Does he pay you rent?
No, he stayed just temporarily.
So he doesn't pay any rent?
No, he didn't.
Okay. Do you work?
No. Disability.
How old are you?
65.
How old are you, sir?
68.
You state at some point, Miss Dillard, that the plaintiff stole your pills.
My pills I keep track of because of what they are. And the doctor also keeps track of what...
Don't tell me what the doctor does, just
I'm
you.
sorry. And I noticed that they were going faster than what should be. So I called the deputy and I told him I can't prove anything because I don't know. He knocked on the door, and sure enough, he found some pills in his room of mine.
What kind of pills were they?
They were so...
Fractured my ribs, Your Honor, and I didn't have any pain medication. I was complaining about my ribs hurting. Miss Dillard said that she had some muscle relaxers and wanted to know if that would help. I said, well, maybe. She gave me 4. I took 1 in the morning, 1 that night when I went to bed. The next morning, Deputy Weinheimer shows up, saw 2 pills on top of my dresser, asked me what they were, and I said, Miss Dillard gave those to me. He says, no. She says, you stole them.
Yeah, I believe you.
She wrote me a... Okay.
I believe you. I believe it's too coincidental that she checked her pills and she said, my pills are missing, and all of a sudden she calls the police and they find 2 pills on your dresser. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. Listen to me. I believe her story. That's my job. That's my job. And what date was this that you called the police?
I don't remember.
Was it in November?
Probably, yes.
It was in November. And by November, you had it with his shenanigans.
It could have been in October, too. Because I also smelled marijuana coming from his room occasionally, and I called again.
So you had enough
of his shenanigans. I do not want illegal drugs being used in my house.
Right.
I told him if he had a certificate, he's allowed to have his marijuana in the house. He did not have a certificate.
Sir?
Yes, she locked me out of the entire property.
Tell me how she did that.
She put a lock on the gate and the chain link fence with a note that said, you no longer live here.
You didn't happen to save that note, did you?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Okay. And what did you do when you saw the note?
I kind of was picking my jaw up off the ground, and she came outside and told me that I no longer lived there. And I said, well, what about all my stuff? She said, your stuff is gone.
Did she tell you where it was?
No. She turned around and went back in the house.
And the stuff that you're talking about, sir, is the stuff that was in your room. Was this your room?
Yeah, that's the futon, yes.
That was your futon.
No, that is my futon.
Or whatever, whosever futon it was. Okay, so where did you go? Did you go across the street?
No, I got on a bus. I didn't know that my stuff was across the street. I got on a bus. I got the last bus out of Sugarloaf to downtown Big Bear Lake, where I called my friend Bruce.
So you called him?
I called him, yes.
And he came?
Yes, and gave me a ride over to another friend's house.
The other friend lived where?
In Big Bear City, on Airplane.
Near her?
No.
Not across the street?
No.
What? He moved across the street. The night before, I told him, go look at your bedroom and see where you're going to be moving to, because we had discussed it.
Give me the name of the neighbor and the phone number.
Mike. I have his mother's phone number because Mike is on...
Mike, I don't want to talk to Mike's mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So your property was there at Mike's house?
Some of it.
What did you do with the stuff that was in Mike's house?
I left it covered up so it wouldn't get snowed on, Your Honor.
So you left it there?
I had nowhere to take it.
The story is not working for me.
And later today...
Did you get her insurance information?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Was your car insured on October 29th?
October 29th? I don't think so, no.
What were you doing driving around in a car that wasn't insured?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Steven Cernogorek says former roommate Carol Dillard illegally evicted him, stole his property, and filed false charges. Carol is countersuing for unpaid rent and cleaning fees.
Okay.
Your Honor, there was 4 males and 4 females already living at that house. There was no room for me to have...
Just a second. The question is, did you stay there for any period of time?
No.
After you found that she had locked the chain link fence, did you stay even for a day or two?
No, I come over there and verified that my property was still there, but I didn't stay there.
Property was there, so she brought your property there?
I found out later that...
So your property was there at Mike's house?
For a very short period.
Just a second. Your property was at Mike's house?
Some of it, Your Honor. Not... I just saw... All I saw was a pile with a blue tarp over it.
What did you do with the stuff that was in Mike's house?
They said...
Don't tell me what they said. I asked you what you did with it.
What I did was I proceeded to try to find a place to rent to put it.
And who helped you with that? First, how did you get there? How did you get to Mike's house?
The bus.
And now you were trying to figure out what to do with the stuff that was in Mike's house. Did you bring any of it to your friend's house?
No.
Well, what did you do with it?
I left it covered up so it wouldn't get snowed on, Your Honor.
So you left it there. You left it there.
I had nowhere to take it.
Well, you were living with him.
He had no room.
Why?
Because he has his own house, his own life, his own...
But you're living with him.
I slept on the couch, Your Honor.
What difference does it make? He has his own house. You said it's just the two of you.
You know, I was trying to find a place to live where I could just take it. And
it's not working for me, sir. The story is not working for me. She did, in fact, take your stuff. She illegally evicted you, which she can't do. But she took your stuff. You, in fact, knew that it was across the... Put your hand down.
I didn't know that for like a week, that it was...
A week. So you found... Who told you?
Nobody. I saw somebody at the store that told me. Nobody called me.
Fine. So somebody at the store told you that your stuff was over at Mike's house.
Yes.
And you took the bus and you went to Mike's house. Mm-hmm. This is what you're telling me. And you left all the stuff there because you didn't have a place to take it.
And I couldn't take it on the bus, Your Honor.
Well, how did you get it to the defendant's house?
With Bruce, his truck.
Well, why couldn't you use Bruce's truck to get your stuff back to Bruce's house?
Bruce was working.
Oh, please, Miss Guy, I don't believe you. Really, I'm not buying into your story. I am, however, going to find in your favor for one thing. I believe that Miss Dillard called in a false complaint about you in order to get you out of the house, because I think that when she called the police and told the police that you stole her pills, it was a very convenient story and a very convenient plant. Put your hand down. A very convenient plant of the 2 pills. So I believe she... But nothing happened to you as a result of that. Is that right?
Oh, I had to take time off, go to court in San Bernardino.
You did?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you were arrested?
No, he wrote me a ticket, ma'am.
What happened with the ticket?
It got dismissed.
So you had to appear in court?
Yes.
That's worth $500. Okay. Now, you say he owes you rent. My question...
He owes me $400, and he never gave the $200 deposit.
What $400 does he owe you for what month?
For November.
You locked him out in November.
I did not lock him out.
Yes, you did. He's not paying you.
Judge Judy, I'm sorry, but I did not lock him out. I swear I did not lock him out. Why did he not call the deputies?
I did.
He could have.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
All right, these are excused. You may step out.
It was just a big disaster and a mess, and I'm glad it's over with.
You started out positive, and then it turned very negative.
It's over and done with, and I'm glad I had this experience.
She threw out everything I owned except what I had on my back.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Oden versus Barron, step forward.
Taya Oden is suing her mother's neighbor, Michelle Barron, for hitting her parked car and fleeing the scene.
Miss Oden, how long have you and Miss Barron been neighbors? You live on the same block?
Yes.
How long?
For about 3 months, maybe.
Have you ever spoken to her?
No.
Have you seen her driving?
Yes.
What kind of car does she have?
A grayish van. I don't know the year, make, and model.
This incident happened on October 11th.
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
6:30, my husband and I was around 7 months pregnant. I was having really bad contractions, so my husband and
6:30 in the evening or in the morning? In the evening.
PM. So I was having real bad contractions, so my husband and I decided to go to the emergency room. Around that time, he was upstairs, I was downstairs in my mom's living room with the door cracked open, and that's when I heard a metal-to-metal collision. So I stepped outside, and that's when I seen the defendant speed off. So at this time, I'm furious. So my husband...
Now, you said you saw the defendant speed off. Did you see her face? Did you see her in the car, or did you just see the car?
I just saw the car.
You saw her speed off?
Yes.
Did you follow where she went?
No. My husband then came downstairs, and then that's when we walked to the door. I showed him explained to him what happened. I walked to the door, and that's when my contractions were getting worse. So my contractions were getting worse.
Okay.
So that's when I asked to borrow my mom's car to go to the emergency room, and I got discharged around 10:30, 11 o'clock p.m. That's when we came back, and I made the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What were you doing driving around in a car
My
that wasn't
insurance
insured?
just lapsed. I have insurance, but my insurance lapsed. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, then you don't have insurance. If your insurance lapsed, then you don't have insurance.
Yes, correct.
Judge Judy.
Taya Oden says her mother's neighbor, Michelle Barron, hit her parked car and fled the scene. Michelle denies it was her.
Okay, can I see a copy of that report?
Yes.
Well, there were charges filed against you. Is that right?
I had got a ticket for backing, and he told me to go to court on the ticket and tell my side of what happened. So the ticket was dismissed. The charges was dropped. The backing charges, everything was dismissed when we went to court.
Did the police ever inspect your car?
Yes, I have pictures.
The police inspected your car?
He came over. I guess they did it when I wasn't there or couldn't get in contact with me or nothing, but no, matter of fact, he did it 2 times. He came when I was there, and I guess he did it when I wasn't there. Because I have 2 vehicles, so I was driving one of my other vehicles. But I have pictures of what he expected or whatever.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. That's my van. Is no dents, no scratches, no nothing from what she claiming that I did.
Ma'am, I actually have pictures showing that it was, and I had the police officer measure the scratchings.
You mean on her car?
Yes, on my car and her car.
Were you present when this measuring took place?
No.
You were not?
No.
Okay. Did you get her insurance information?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Now, was your car insured on October 29th?
October 29th? I'm not for sure. I don't think so, no.
What were you doing driving around in a car that wasn't insured?
It just lapsed. It just overlapped.
What were you doing driving around in a car that wasn't insured?
My insurance just lapsed. I have insurance, but my insurance lapsed. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, then you don't have insurance. If your insurance lapsed, then you don't have insurance.
Yes, correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Okay. Did you ever speak to her about it?
No, ma'am.
Never.
I want you to tell me how you are certain that it was her car.
I saw her car speed off and hit and leave after she hit my car.
Well, was it backing? It says it was backing out of a driveway.
Yes. So my car is parked in front of her driveway, in front of my house.
I see.
Right, and she backed in, and then I saw her speed off. After I heard the accident, I saw her speed off.
I got it, please. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,069.96. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We worked every single month on this house to get it ready for her to sell.
Was this renter's labor all for nothing?
Did you agree to reimburse her? I did not. Don't cross your arms. There's only one attitude here. That's mine.
Judge Judy.
The whole thing was made up. She never seen me hit her car.
She made a wonderful decision.
She reported it hours later after it happened.
I was having contractions. Contractions come before any car damages.
She just trying to get money.
Get insurance and learn how to drive.
The defendants were your tenants.
Their departure was surprising.
I wasn't notified that they were moving out until they had moved out.
They left a whole bunch of junk there.
Their payments were sparse.
They did not pay October rent, November rent, December rent, or half of January rent. According to the lease, my home insurance company received a claim from them in February. They found it to be suspicious.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy. Floyd Score is suing former tenants Danny Kerner and his wife Chantel Hero for breaking their lease and property damage.
Order. All rise. Guys, case number 627 on the calendar, the matter of Score versus Kerner Hero.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Score, the defendants were your tenants.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many months were they your tenants?
They lived at the residence for 13 months.
From when to when?
From November 1st, I finally gained access to the house in December 5th of 2015. 15, yes.
And they had a lease with
Yes.
you. When they signed the lease, they gave you security deposit. deposit?
Not at the signing of the lease, Your Honor.
Subsequently, they
Yes.
gave you security deposit.
Yes, they
In
did.
what amount?
$1,200.
And they also gave you last month's rent?
No, ma'am.
What did they give you upon signing of the lease?
They gave me $1,200 at the signing of the lease, and over the next couple weeks after they had the other $1,200 for the deposit.
For security?
For security.
So they didn't pay first, last, and security. They paid first month's rent and security.
Correct.
Now, you seem... Pay attention, who's speaking? You seem to indicate that you paid first month's, last month's rent and security.
That is correct, Your
Show
Honor.
me.
Okay. If I can direct your attention to Mr. Score's statement in the eviction
No,
act.
just look at me. I can't understand you when you're mumbling. I want you to show me the checks that you wrote when you moved in November of 2014. You would have given him a total of, subsequently you gave him the $1,200 within the first month of your tenancy to cover security. But you would have given him, when you signed the lease, $2,400. And then within a month, another $1,200 if you paid first, last, and security. Show me.
We paid $1,200 by cash, non-receipt given by Mr. Score. We paid $1,200 by money orders, which a year ago I still don't have from file.
Well, that's too bad. Because the month that we're talking about is, you say you paid him first, last, and security, paid him $1,200 in cash, you don't have a but the remainder of the, look at me, Mr. Kerner, how did you pay the rent after you moved in?
We paid everything before we moved in, Your Honor.
No, you lived there for a year, so that you prepaid your rent for a year?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you paid rent every month. In what form of currency did you pay it?
Cash or money order?
Did they give you cash?
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
Did you give them a receipt for the cash?
When requested, I did, Your Honor.
Well, that's an outrageous way of doing business, actually, Mr. Score.
I understand.
Okay. You have the lease?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Does the lease say that he has given you first month's rent and security, or first, last, and security?
The lease states that they gave me first month's rent and the deposit only.
May I see that, please?
Yes, you may.
And if you have anything that indicates otherwise, Mr. Kerner, I will look at it.
I do, Your Honor. Paragraph 22, Your Honor.
I'd like to see. Thank you. I don't know what you're showing me.
That's a findings of fact issued by an eviction court.
Show me where the finding of fact says that you paid him first, last, and security.
The first and the security are disclosed on his lease.
Right.
By his own admittance, he admitted on court record that we had paid last month's as well.
Show me.
Line 22.
22 merely says that the court finds you, in certain regards, more credible than it found Mr. Score. Show me where
Then
it
would
said
be
that
line
the court
21. I may have the wrong paragraph, Your Honor.
Well, you may. The lease says that you paid $1,200 a month in advance. You deposit with him $1,200 for security and no last month's rent. Okay, so you moved out in December, which means if you left the house in perfect condition, then your $1,200 security deposit I will allocate for the month of November, because you didn't pay November's rent. Is that correct?
Your Honor, we withheld October and November.
Okay. You withheld October and November, and what I'm telling you is, so far, your November is covered by your security deposit if you left the place in good condition. You still owe him a month's rent.
We were not there for the month of December, Your Honor.
No,
we were
you
out
owe him...
November 25th.
Just a second. The last month's rent you paid him, you said, was September.
Correct.
You owe him October and November. And if you paid him $1,200 as security deposit and you left the house in pristine condition, I will give you credit for that $1,200. Otherwise, you owe him 2 months' rent if you did damage to the house.
Your Honor, we did pay a last month's rent.
Well, there's no proof of that, and the lease doesn't say it. And if you had proof of that, I would take a look at it. But if for some reason you were foolish enough to pay him in cash, what kind of business do you do?
Correct.
So you have a cash business?
Correct.
Yeah. Does she work with you?
No.
Do you work for somebody else?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in the food industry.
Are you in a cash business as well?
No.
So you're salaried?
I get paid biweekly.
So you're salaried?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
get paid by check?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you do with your check?
They go into the bank to pay the bills.
You go into the bank where you have a checking account to pay bills.
Correct, Your Honor.
Right?
Yes.
The same way you could pay your rent.
Correct.
I got it. Okay, so now we have $1,200 for the plaintiff side. Now you're going to show me what damage they did, if any, to the property, along with the bills to repair it.
Your Honor, I have photographs that show the damage, the garbage.
I'd like to take a look at it, because they moved out in December, and according to you, you re-rented the property in January.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I also like to hold them. Because they had a 3-year lease, I wasn't notified that they were moving out until they had moved out. I filed the unlawful detainer against them in November because they did not pay October and November rent.
I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're lecturing about. They left a whole bunch of junk there. Now I'd like to see the paid bills for cleaning up the mess that they left there.
Also, the receipts are for unpaid water bills.
I don't want to see unpaid water bills. That's not in your complaint. All I want to see is the bill.
I believe it was.
Maybe I'll look again. No, not in there.
Accidentally handed you some of my cost of...
All I want to see is what you paid to clean up, remove carpet, strip clean wood floors, odor removal. How many dogs did you have, Mr. Kerner?
Your Honor, we had 2 small dogs.
Your Honor, that's incorrect. That's a lie. And here's some Home Depots and some junk removal receipts, Your Honor.
I just want to see the junk removal. Yeah. So far I have $975 that appears to be reasonable and consistent with this garage door, 138. Okay, so the junk removal and the stuff that had to be done, actually, based upon the photographs that I've seen, come up to about $1,200, which is 1 month's rent. They still owe you 1 month's rent, and you've got the security to cover the rest. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. When I entered the property on December 5th, I was told by Daniel Turner, is who he claimed to be in the lease, and his wife, Chantel Turner, which both filled out applications under those names. I had found out through an investigator in my insurance company, my home insurance company, had received a vicious...
February of what year?
Of 2016. The investigator advised me...
No, you can't tell me what the investigator advised you. Did you file a claim with his insurance company after you moved out?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When did you go to see an attorney?
September of 2015.
What for?
For the injury she'd suffered, for the disrepaired staircase.
So your wife fell?
Correct.
Is that matter still pending?
It is, Your Honor.
And I'm not going to go into it.
And later today...
You had absolutely no loss because you paid in rent August and somebody moved in September. She paid.
She had a signed lease
paid.
That she broke 3 months earlier.
She paid.
For the lease?
She paid.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Floyd Score says former tenants Danny Kerner and his wife Chantel Hero broke their lease and damaged his property.
Now, when did you file a claim with his insurance company?
We hired an attorney to handle it, so I'm not sure when the exact filing was.
When did you go to see an attorney?
It would have been September of 2015.
What for?
To talk about getting the money that we had put out for the injury she'd suffered, for the disrepaired staircase to the entry of the property.
So, ending?
It is, Your Honor.
And I'm not going to go into it. Right now, you owe Mr. Score $1,200. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. They did not pay October rent, November rent, December rent, or half of January rent, according to the lease that we had signed.
Listen to me.
Okay, they vacated the president, they vacated in December.
And you re-rented according to you in January.
Mid-January.
You re-rented in January.
The house was so bad.
I just gave you $1,200 to clean it up, sir.
That doesn't cover it,
Well,
Your Honor.
It covers it as far as I'm concerned, sir. $1,200, but that's what they owe you. They owe you a month's rent, and the security deposit, they forfeited because they left the place a pigsty. We're done. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My tenants are con artists.
We don't owe Mr. Score a single penny.
They destroyed my house, cost me several $1,000s.
He's a creepy stalker.
Because the house was so bad, they did not want me to enter the premises to see how bad it was.
Just know your rights.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kemple versus Gortz, step forward.
Scott and Tracy Kemple are suing their former tenant, Jeanette Gortz, for unpaid rent, utilities, and damage to their property caused by her chickens.
Mr. and Mrs. Kemple, you have a rental property?
We do.
What kind of rental property is it?
It's a bungalow home.
How many rooms?
Family room on the back of the house.
Fine. This is what your case is about. The defendant was your tenant. She was your tenant for 4 years. You claim she left your property damaged, that she owes you for utilities and unpaid rent. Correct. The defendant says she lived there for 4 years, other than normal wear and tear. There was nothing that she did to the house that was inappropriate, and that you kept her security deposit for her last month's rent. 1 month's rent is what you're suing for, is that right?
Correct.
And utilities?
I was not given the last water bill, Your Honor.
Okay, so is it the last water bill that you're suing for?
Correct.
How much was the water bill?
The balance due, she actually did make a payment, which covered a partial month plus what was assessed to our property tax because of the late payment. So I made the past payment that was due.
Could you just tell me what the water bill was that you believe she owes?
What she owes with the balance is $307.
For water?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you keep her security deposit?
I did.
How much was her security deposit?
Initial rent was $1,080, so that's what we kept.
And what month did she not pay rent?
The month of August.
Okay. So now, if you kept the security deposit, but for the issue of damage, is she square with you with the exception of the water bill of $307?
The damage to the backyard.
Just a second. No. And so in addition to the $300 water bill, so you don't owe them any rent because they kept the security deposit for your last month's rent. Now you're going to show me what?
On the lease, it states that the security deposit is not to be used for
Just a second. We're here talking about dollars. If there's no damage to the house that I consider other than normal wear and tear or not her responsibility, you are made whole by keeping her security deposit for her last month's rent. She lived there. She caused no damage, if that's what I find. So the only thing that she owes is the last water bill. Understood? So now you're going to show me additional damage that you believe she's responsible for.
I have videos and pictures of damage made to chickens that were kept on the property.
I'd like to see the photographs. What is this a picture of that you're showing me?
That is a condition that was left for us to clean up after she moved out and removed the chickens in the pen.
What is this picture of?
That is the mess in the garage of the chickens after we cleaned out the debris she left in the garage the month that we're seeking rent payment.
What is this?
That is from inside the garage for chickens to have access.
Did you cut out the screen?
I did take out the screen with full intentions of putting it in. I left screen that was special ordered and then left screen for the garage because I ran out of time when I was moving out because I was moving by myself. Did you find
screening? We found some screening in the garage, but I had a broken screen that I had to take to get repaired because it was in pieces.
Okay, and how much was that?
That was $52.
$52. Okay. And what is this a picture of?
If you turn it, that's the windowsill with chicken droppings left that we had to clean up before we could repair the screen.
Okay. And this is?
The debris left in the garage the month that we're seeking the rent for.
Okay. Now, did you take this stuff out?
I did. Well, I wanted to.
Did you take it out?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How do you want to be compensated for the fact that you should have gotten your permission to have chickens? Tell me, what figure should I pull out of the air to compensate you for her not asking permission to have the chickens?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott and Tracy Kimple claim former tenant Jeanette Gortz owes for rent, utilities, and property damage caused by her chickens.
Okay, what month did you move out?
I moved out July 31st, Your Honor.
Who are the new tenants in the house?
Kovac family. They moved in the 1st of September.
So that you had absolutely no loss because you were paid in rent August, and somebody moved in September.
Last week of August, Your Honor.
We had the whole month vacant after she did give notice.
She paid.
She had a signed lease that she broke 3 months earlier.
She paid.
Per the lease?
She paid.
Okay.
I've already told you, we're starting with the premise that you have to be made whole.
Correct.
There are not 13 months in a year. No. There are only 12. So you got paid for the entire 12 months from her money and from the new tenants. There wasn't 1 month that you were without rent in that house.
Well,
not 1 month. Is my math off?
No, but security deposit, if you look at the breakdown of repairs...
There are no repairs that I see here. I see cleanup. And if you had submitted a bill for $500 from somebody that you brought in, a professional to clean up the property, I would have said to her, property is a mess. You left this stuff. I don't care if you needed a hauler or a carting company to come in and you had that bill, would have said that's a bill that you have to take care of. But you didn't. But you're whole, other than the $307 for the water bill and the $52. Just a second.
Chickens.
And how much is that?
The contractor quoted me $225 for the repainting, the wood siding, and his witness to the chicken mess that he put on there also.
May I see that? You're entitled to that, sir. $225.
The text that we exchanged, she admits to rent that she owes, but
she doesn't owe any rent. I've just told you she doesn't owe any rent. There are not 13 months in a year, and you're not entitled to rent for 13 months in a year, in my view.
That I was just seeking for the repairs.
In my view. Fine. Then you're entitled to $307, $52 for the screen that you had to have repaired, and $225, which is, in my view, a modest estimate to clean up the pecking of the chickens.
Judge, in our lease, it also states that she isn't to have any animals without our approval.
So what do you want?
Well, just the fact that we had to clean up and the damage to the garage without her even get approval for chickens.
Just a second. How do you expect to be monetarily compensated for that, sir?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Everything that you have bills for
correct
amounts to $584.
Okay.
How do you want to be compensated for the fact that you should have got your permission to have chickens? Tell me, what figure should I pull out of the air to compensate you for her not asking permission to have the chickens? Tell me, what figure should I use?
I was just going off my lease and what it states in the lease.
Well, what does it say in the lease?
She broke it 3 months early.
Oh, no. No. Listen to me. 13 months in a year, not in my calendar year. And it would seem to me, in addition to that, that if she was the kind of tenant that you don't want there,
not at all,
you would be very happy that she moved out, having paid you all of her rent, and you were able to, in a relatively short period of time, put the house back into condition to be re-rented. Okay. Anything else? 584.
Not for me. Do you?
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $584.
Thank you.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He said he'd like to go on the cruise.
Then her cash sailed off into the sunset.
What did you discuss about money?
We really didn't discuss anything about it because we were together.
She was your date.
I think she was very fair.
The judgment was fair.
I think they were just upset in general.
She didn't have a permit for the chickens.
I don't think it was really the chickens.
I wish she would have communicated so we didn't have to go this far.
Take pictures before and after.
Great visiting Judge Judy.
What did he say?
He said he'd like to go on the cruise.
Her unemployed ex needed a vacation.
In your case, you had plenty of time, but no money.
Right.
What was the cost?
$997.44.
Then her cash sailed off into the sunset.
What did you discuss about money?
We really didn't discuss anything about it because we were together.
You weren't living together as a family. She was your date.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Valerie Cassidy says ex-boyfriend Troy Meinecker owes for unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 359 on the calendar, the matter of Cassidy versus Meinecker.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Cassidy, the defendant was your boyfriend. You made 2 loans to him. One was for a vacation, and the other was just because he was sort of short on his mortgage cash. The defendant says there was never a loan agreement. The trip was your idea, and with regard to the other money, he never borrowed it. He doesn't owe it to you. So let's start out with, in what month and year did you and Mr. Meinecker start to date?
I believe it was September or October of 2014.
And you never lived together?
No.
What was the date of this trip that you were planning on going on?
The cruise was from February 21st to February 26th, 2015.
All right. Well, tell me about Mr. Miniger's participation in that trip.
The trip was already planned with friends.
Your friends?
My friends. And my trip, we had already planned this, and my portion was paid for.
Before you met him?
Well, before we started dating.
Okay.
There was talk, he knew we were going on the cruise.
What did he say?
He said he'd like to go on the cruise. And we decided to research what the cost would be, and we made a phone call to the cruise line.
Who's we?
Mr. Miniger and I.
Who made the call?
I made the call when he asked me to research what it would cost for him and his daughter to go.
So?
So the call was made to the Carnival representative. He said there was one cabin left, and what the cost would be was the cruise cost itself.
Okay, so after the representative gave you a price, what did you do?
We discussed it, and he said he and his daughter would like to go, and that he didn't have the money at that time, but if I lent it to him, he would pay me in full for the cost of the cruise, incidentals, because there were shore excursions, and incidentals on the trip down there.
Okay, let's stop right there. Is that the conversation?
Not as I recall it, no, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like you to tell me what you recall the conversation was.
Sure. We were going to dinner with the other couples who were going on a cruise.
And they were couples?
Yes, they were couples that were going.
Is that correct, that they were couples?
Yes, there were two married couples.
So you were going with two married couples. You were the only single person going on the cruise?
Correct.
Go ahead.
While we were having dinner, we were discussing about the cruise. She asked if I would be interested in going on the cruise. I said at this time, you know, I have free time right now due to I'm in between some jobs.
So you weren't working at the time?
Correct.
Where were you living?
I had just bought a house on land contract from a relative.
Did you buy the house before or after you lost your job?
Before.
How long had you been working at that job?
About a year and a half.
Was that a layoff that you anticipated or not?
No, it was not.
When were you laid off from that job?
About 2 or 3 months prior to going on the cruise, I believe.
So you told her that you had time?
Yes, to go on the cruise if that's what we would agree to going together. As we paid for everything up front.
Well, what did you discuss about payment?
We really didn't discuss anything because we were dating, so I don't remember discussing anything because we were together.
You weren't living together because
No, we were just dating.
You were dating?
Right.
Well, there must have been some discussion, sir, about who was going to pay for this $1,000 cruise.
We were driving down, so I agreed to be the driver of the driving down, so that way I wouldn't have to pay for any of the gas or anything like that. And as far as like going on the excursions and stuff, she had already had that planned and then just included us into with her plans.
Well, including you in the plans requires money.
Right, right.
Well, so I'd like to know, sir, what did you discuss about money?
We really didn't discuss anything about it because we were together, and so...
You keep saying that. That suggests to me that you think it's a big bargain having you just together, and she should be grateful to have you in that position of being an escort, and that the issue of money isn't something that you should say, well, either, you know, this isn't a good time for me. I have the time, but I don't have the money because I'm not working right now, so I can't afford to go on a cruise right now. I have the time, but I don't have the money. Sometimes you have the money, you don't have the time, but in your case, you had plenty of time, but no money.
Right.
Okay. So you had to have discussed the money part because you weren't living together as a family. She was your date.
Right.
Not. So you don't remember the discussion about money?
We discussed once she called the cruise line what it would be to go on the cruise, and then she paid for everything, and we made the arrangements to go.
Nice. Okay. That's $1,000 for the cruise. What else do you think he owes you for?
For the cost of the excursions, we had what was called Faster to Fun Pass, which was $49.95. That was basically you get on before everybody else.
I don't care.
Okay. And then there was $219.98 for one of the excursions, which was the Dolphin Encounter, and $151.98, which was the Stingray Encounter.
Now, I want you to tell me, other than the cost of the basic cruise, what you discussed specifically about the excursions?
We discussed whether or not he wanted to and his daughter go on the excursions with us. He said he did, and that would be added into the cost of the reimbursement.
$1,400. What's next?
And then there was the $300 for the mortgage that we got back from the cruise, and he was short. He did have a job lined up, and he was going to be working. He said he was short with his paycheck, and so I agreed to loan him the $300. Again, he said he would reimburse me.
Go.
We had never discussed any of the excursions. It was just all added into the cruise.
Listen to me, sir. I'm past the cruise.
Okay.
I'm on the $300 for your mortgage.
Okay. I was behind because we went on the cruise and I had not received any paychecks yet.
Well, you had to have called her and told her that you were having trouble with the mortgage.
She was aware of my financial
Don't
issues.
tell me what aware. I don't want to know aware. Aware is you calling for the operation of what's in her mind. If Bird and I know each other for 40 years, and if Bird called me and said, you know, I need $500 to pay my mortgage, then I would be aware of it. But if he didn't tell me that he was behind $500 on his mortgage, I wouldn't be aware of it. So you had to have told her you were behind on your mortgage.
Yes.
And when you said you were behind on your mortgage, what did you say to her?
I'm behind on my mortgage by $300, and I'm not sure where I'm going to come up with it this month, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I had just recently moved in there, and I didn't want to get any further behind. She says, I can help you out this month and pay the $300 that you're behind.
Great. That means you owe her $1,700. Are we done here now? We are. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. Thank you.
Excuse me, step out.
I felt he was trustworthy and he would pay me back, but
it was a gift.
When months and months went by and he didn't.
We were dating, and
then yes, I did feel taken advantage of.
We were there as a family.
Don't give, or when it's just a boyfriend.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gardner versus Middleton. Step forward.
Cornell Gardner is suing his daughter's mother, Deanne Middleton, for the return of furniture, a security deposit, and false allegations.
Mr. Gardner, you and Miss Middleton lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old is that child?
2 years old.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
This is what your lawsuit is about. According to you, you and Miss Middleton got into an argument. And when you got into an argument, according to Miss Middleton, she called the police. You were arrested. While you were incarcerated, Miss Middleton filed for a protective order.
Yes, ma'am.
Keeping you away from your apartment because it was your apartment.
Exactly.
And Miss Middleton, according to you, removed all of your furniture.
No. She kept me out of the apartment the entire length of the lease until it was extinguished.
I'm talking about the furniture. What are you saying no for?
Oh.
Did she remove your furniture? That's what the case is about,
yes,
Mr.
the
Gardner.
furniture was with Miss Middleton.
Mr. Gardner, let's understand what you say this case is about. You say that while you were incarcerated, while there was a protective order, Miss Middleton removed the furniture from your apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
And it was your furniture that you purchased?
Yes.
And you want the furniture back?
Yes.
You also say that Miss Middleton, while you didn't pay rent in that apartment, but lived in that apartment using the security deposit that you put in the apartment as her last month's rent.
Correct.
You think that she should pay you back for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Miss Middleton says that you bought the furniture and you gave it to her as a gift. Now, when did you move into that apartment?
February 2011.
And did you move into that apartment with Miss Middleton?
Yes.
Was your daughter born then?
Yes.
Had you and Miss Middleton lived together prior to your daughter being born?
Yes.
In another apartment?
Yes.
For how long?
About 8 months.
At that time, was Miss Middleton working?
No.
Was she working during the pregnancy of your daughter?
No.
Was she working after the child was born?
No.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was Miss Middleton collecting welfare of any sort?
Yes.
What was she collecting?
I think it was medical assistance and food stamps.
Is it correct that you were unemployed since 2011?
Yes, I started work in December of 2011.
For whom?
Heinrich Envelopes.
And how long did that job last?
I'm still there.
And is that full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the furniture purchased?
February through April of 2012.
Why was the apartment put in his name only?
Because at the time, Your Honor, Mr. Gardner was the only one with the income at the time.
Live in the house, but you were not a signatory to that lease.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was the only one working
yes,
in that apartment in February of 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
And he bought furniture for that apartment during the next 2 months.
Yes, ma'am.
So he paid for it.
Correct.
Great. And on what date did you have this argument with him and have him either ejected from the house, have the police called, whatever?
Back in April.
Of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
2013?
Yes, ma'am.
And with whom does your daughter live now?
With me, Your Honor.
You say the child's with you.
She is.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's what you wrote. That's what you wrote. Was that a lie?
No, Your Honor.
So then what you told me a moment ago was a lie.
No, Your Honor.
Well, they're two different stories, so you have to come up with the right story.
And later today,
He doesn't want a car for which he doesn't have a title. And if you can get somebody else to buy it with that piece of paper, that's fine. I wouldn't buy it.
Why would I produce a title, Your Honor, without having been paid?
Why would he pay you without a title?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Cornell Gardner says his daughter's mother, Deanne Middleton, owes for the return of furniture, a security deposit, and false allegations.
We're having a hearing. We're scheduled for a hearing 4 months from now.
Where did the child sleep over the weekend?
With me.
And during the week?
With me.
And when you're working, who takes care of the child?
My daughter's godparents.
And how are they related to either you or Miss Middleton?
They're friends of us.
Of whose?
Of mine.
Now, is it correct, Miss Middleton, that Mr. Gardner has physical custody of your daughter Monday through Friday?
Correct, Your Honor.
Good. Perfect. Now, once Mr. Middleton was out of the apartment, you stayed there for an additional month.
Yes, Your Honor.
And lived off the security in the apartment. Is
No,
that...
Your Honor.
Well, did you pay rent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Show me.
I didn't have to think I had to bring that.
Why? That's what part of the lawsuit is, that you were living in the apartment and you didn't pay rent. Now, who paid rent, Miss Middleton, while the two of you were living together the month before he was arrested?
I did, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, because Mr. Gardner wasn't employed at the time.
So you paid the rent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Middleton, sadly for you, you say here that while he was in jail, I lost money from work because I had to take time off to watch the baby. I couldn't pay the rent, so I talked to the manager about using the security deposit for last month's rent. That's what you wrote. That a lie?
No, Your Honor.
So that was true. So then what you told me a moment ago was a lie.
No, Your Honor.
Well, they're two different stories, so you have to come up with the right story.
I paid the rent, Your Honor.
Security deposit, last month's rent. You wrote here that you spoke to the landlord, and the landlord agreed to let you use the security deposit for the last month's rent. Was that a lie?
Okay, Your Honor, back in May, our lease was coming up anyway. Let me clarify this. Okay, the whole bottom floor was getting renovated. So the owner was like, you know, I didn't have to pay the May's rent due to the fact because I had to go find another apartment. I never got no security deposit whatsoever.
Well, he put down the security deposit. He put down the, that's what he's saying. He's saying that you didn't pay the last month's rent, and you don't have a receipt for the last month's rent because you used his security deposit for the rent, which I think that you did. How much was the rent?
$750.
Okay. Anybody want to say anything else to me? Because I'm done with this case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
If I granted your counterclaim, you still couldn't give him a title.
Your Honor, in Washington State, I don't need a title.
We're not in Washington State, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Cornell Gardner says his daughter's mother, Deanne Middleton, security deposit and false allegations.
Now, you're going to get your furniture back. All of your furniture. Have it all wrapped up. He's coming to pick up his
Your
furniture.
Honor, the furniture can't be returned because...
Listen to me. You're not getting any money. Period. End of discussion. I want you to understand this. No money. You get your furniture. Get a mover and go and pick up your furniture. And you also get the last month's rent, which was your security deposit, $750. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Furniture. Back to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pretty much had an argument over finances.
I'm glad this case is over with, but, you know...
And she maximized the situation and had me arrested.
Mr. Gardner had put his hands on me.
Never, never.
So that's why I had the order for protection taken out on him.
If I would have done that, she should have came to court and legally pursued it.
He did that, so like I said, I'm glad this case is over with.
Pretty much there was no way to communicate with Miss Middleton.
So I could move on and put this all behind us.
She's a difficult person.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bell versus Rubin. Step forward.
Benjamin Bell III is suing his neighbor, Mark Rubin, for the return of money he paid for a car. Mark is countersuing for the unpaid balance and harassment.
Mr. Bell, how long do you know Mr. Rubin?
A team.
And your neighbors?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Okay. And you bought a car from him. You gave him $1,200 in various installments, sort of on a down payment, and you were supposed to pay him the rest in periodic payments. At some point, you returned the car to him. You returned the car to him when?
On 10/12.
And on what date did you make the first payment on the car to him?
9/14 for $800.
And then you made another payment to him?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor.
When was that?
It was on 9/18 for $400.
Okay, so you had the car for a month, and you returned the car because?
He never showed proof of title at all, a picture, nothing whatsoever, and I refused to continue giving him any payments until he showed title.
Okay, fine. Do you have title? I'd like to see it.
I do, Your Honor. I have
title, not a request for title. Title.
An affidavit in lieu of title notarized.
Who gave you that?
My father's car. He's in a nursing home, and
that's not a title.
It's an affidavit in lieu of title, correct?
It's not a title.
Correct.
You don't have title to the car.
Okay.
Now, are you your father's guardian, appointed?
I'm not.
Okay, then you have no title to the car. You have no right to sell it. You have to give him back his deposit. And you have the car back, is that right?
Correct.
Good. Well, when your father can either sign or you become guardian over your father so that you can make a transfer of the car to somebody else, that would be great.
He did.
A car for which he doesn't have a title. And if you can get somebody else to buy it with that piece of paper, that's fine. I wouldn't buy it.
Why would I produce a title, Your Honor, without having been paid?
Why would he pay you without a title?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by.
Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, listen to me. Mr. Rubin, the transaction was complete when he gave you $800 down payment and you gave him possession of the car. The only thing that remained is the periodic payments. If he failed to make the periodic payments, you could sue him for the periodic payments. But if you don't have the title, I mean, you have a counterclaim for the balance of the purchase price, but you don't have a title to sign to give to him. If I granted your counterclaim, you still couldn't give him a title.
Your Honor, in Washington State, I don't need a title. I'm in the automobile business. This is an affidavit in lieu of title.
We're not in Washington State, sir. We're in a place where I tell you that you need a title to transfer a car. That's what he's comfortable with, a title. Not some piece of paper that can come back and haunt him at another time if your father miraculously gets better in the nursing home. You have to give him back his $1,200 and you have possession of the car, so you did not have the right to sell it to him. We're done.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, he's excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Why would he pay you $500 for a car that was a piece of junk?
The car was not exactly a piece of junk.
It's worth more non-running than it was running.
Next Judge Judy.
Business arrangement was he had a pot-growing operation and he needed a reliable car. And
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a horticulturist.
And I did him a favor by doing it for him.
He took my money and refused to show me any proof of a title.
And my father, as he says, no good deed goes unpunished.
He said tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow.
Never again.
I have it in storage. My father has it.
Take the cash.
There was something every day. I mean, different every day.
Get the green.
Don't trust anybody nowadays, honestly.
It was the perfect car for her handy brother.
The junkyard would only give her about $50 to $125, and she said she would rather sell it to me for $200.
You say you sold it to your brother for $500. He didn't pay you for the car.
And sister drives a hard bargain.
Why would he pay you for
exactly a piece of junk?
It's worth more non-running than it was running.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
23-year-old Marlisa Thomas is suing her brother, Devon Thomas, for the unpaid balance on a car and unpaid tickets.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 600 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Thomas.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Thomas, this is your story, and this is your brother. You had an old car, and that old car stopped running. So it was dead in the water, sitting in front of your house. Yep. And according to you, you sold your brother for $500, this non-running car. What kind of car?
A 91 Toyota Camry.
That you could probably maybe take to a scrap yard and they would give you $50 for it. Maybe. But you say you sold it to your brother for $500. He didn't pay you for the car. And then at some point, after he had worked on the car and got it running, you had an argument with him because you said, well, you have to pay me that deal. You gave me the car, I worked on it, I got it running, and now that I got it running, you want $500 for it. So he said, I'm not giving you, this is his story. He said, I'm not giving you $500 because that wasn't our deal. And he took the car and he parked it out on the street where it got a whole bunch of tickets. Now the car is registered in your name, so you have these tickets that accumulated and you want the $500 for the car. Your brother's story is somewhat different. And he says, the car was a gift, it was a piece of junk. How long did you work on the car, Mr. Thomas?
The car wasn't necessarily a gift. It was, she asked me to come and remove it from her house because she had actually got a new car and she didn't have a place for the car that was not running to be, so she needed me to come and move it for her. She told me she was going to junk the car, and if I wanted her to come and get it, come and get it.
That's not true.
Just a second. So did you come and get it?
Yes.
How did you get it?
Came, I jumped the car, drove it home, broke down about 15 times.
Just a second. So you were able to jump start it?
Yes, I was able to jump start the car. It had a blown head gasket, so of course it was overheating. So it broke down about 15 times before I got home. I got it home, parked it in my driveway. About a week later, got to work on it, got the car up and running. And
did you spend any money for parts?
Spent a couple of $100 on parts, but I did all the labor myself.
Okay. And then what at me?
Okay. Once, because I was thinking, once I got the car running, I told her, I was like, Maurice, can you bring me the pink slip so I can sell the car? I can give you whatever money that you feel like you want for the car, and I can get my money back for the work that I have put into the car and the dollar amounts that of the parts that I had to buy. And she said, no, I'm not giving you a pink slip until you pay me. And I said, well, you only wanted about $150 for it, because she said the junkyard would only give her about $50 to $125. And she said she would rather sell it to me for $200. I said, okay, well.
So there was an agreement for you to give her some money for the car?
Yes.
Based upon what you just told me?
There was an agreement for me to give her a couple of dollars, but it wasn't $500 at all.
How much was it?
It was about $200.
What do you mean about?
Because she said she's going to junk the car, so whatever the junkyard will give me for the car, you give it to me.
That's
basically. That's why.
Not basically. I don't want to hear the word basically.
Okay.
Basically is either a filler word or
a lie.
Or a lie.
No, well, it's not a fiddle. I'm not going to sit here and
why
lie.
would he pay you $500 for a car that was a piece of junk?
The car was not exactly a piece of junk.
The car was a piece of junk. It wasn't running.
Well, what happened with the car, I had drove it home from work, and it had overheated on me. So as soon as I got it into my parking spot, I wouldn't put no more money into the car. Told my mom if she wanted to buy.
Don't tell me what you told your mom.
Okay.
I want you to just tell me what you told him.
What happened
if
with
anything?
him? Okay. Well, to start it all off, the sale, my mom called him and asked him and told him.
You can't tell me what your mom said to him.
Okay.
That's hearsay.
Well, originally, I said I wanted $600 for the car.
How did you come up with the figure of $600? Did you look it up somewhere, what it was worth?
Well, when I originally looked up the car on Cali Blue Book while it was still going, it said that the car was worth close to $1,300. And I said, well, the car is broke down, so on me. So if you want to buy the car for this much from me, that's perfectly fine with me. He called me and said, oh, Mom said you wanted $500. I didn't even fight it. I just said, okay, I'll take $5. That was fine. Because it was as is. I knew the registration was behind, and he told me the water pump was out, and I knew the brakes needed to be fixed. I knew it needed work.
Do we have a book that goes back that far?
Sure.
1991? I'm just curious. At 90, so you got it up and running.
Yes, and originally I had sold her the car. That car was actually mine before it was hers. It was my car.
Just a second.
Yes.
You sold her the car?
Yes, it was my car.
Oh, when?
Well, she had.
When did you sell her the car?
I sold her the car in about 2014.
And how much did you pay for it when you purchased it?
$1,300 for the car from my cousin, because it was in immaculate.
And how much did you sell it to your sister for?
I actually gave her the car because she was catching the bus back and forth to work. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give them the whole story.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
I gave her the car. The reason why I say I gave her the car is because she had a car that had broken down on her again, same situation, and she was catching the bus back and forth to work. I did not know that. I always have about 4 or 5 cars, so I told her to come and get this car.
Listen to me. Stop for a second. Did your brother give you this car?
Absolutely not.
Did you get the car from your brother?
I did.
And how much did you pay him for it?
He took my
How much did you pay him for it?
I gave him $400 plus my old car that was not running anymore.
And she was to pay
Just
me.
a second.
She was to pay me the remaining balance, which I never received, but I wrote it off.
God.
Just a second.
Lord.
So you gave him $400. Is that right?
Yes.
And a year later, you were charging him $500 for the same car that you paid $400 for that was no longer running. Now, a year later, you want him to pay you $500 for a non-running car. I don't believe it.
Well,
I don't believe it. Okay. Not for 1 second. Thank you. The only car that appreciates in value over the course of a year, and it so increases in value that it's worth more non-running than it was running.
That's not what I'm saying. In total, because he junked my old car that I had before that, he got about $700 for that car.
For a junked car? Somebody gave him $700 for a junked car?
He got $3 from the car that I had before, because when he junked it, and then I also gave him $400 on top of that. So in total, after
Just a second.
junked
Is
it.
what you're telling me that the car that you had that stopped running, he junked, and he got $300 for?
The car prior to this one, yes.
No, I don't believe it was.
Yes, it was.
It was
He
more
came
like
back and told me.
$100 to $200. It was quite a while ago, so.
He came back and told me.
All I want to know is now I'm not dealing with the car anymore. Actually, you don't even have to look it up. Now I'm dealing with the tickets. I want to know when you got the tickets on the car.
All of the tickets at his address were received starting December 30th up to February 25th.
Where is the car now?
Junkyard.
It's been sold.
It's at a junkyard. Who took it to the junkyard? Look at me, Mr. Thomas.
The car was taken off of the streets in front of my house because she neglected to come and get it. So it accumulated those tickets that she's referring to.
It accumulated. Registration was behind, and I told him the registration is now up to $100.
Just a minute. On what date did you take possession of the car?
December 27th.
And when was the registration expired on the car?
In September.
He's not paying for any of these tickets. You pay for the tickets.
But I had told him that the registration was up on the car, and he said that was fine. He took that risk.
No, you took the risk. The car was in your name?
Because I wasn't driving the car anymore.
You took the risk. The car was in your name. And we're not talking about being a day behind or a week behind. You drove around in the car without a registration September, October, November.
Drive the car.
What?
I didn't drive the car. Once it stopped on me, I didn't drive the car anymore because I said I wasn't putting any more money into it.
Just a second. So is what you're telling me that the car sat in your driveway for 3 months?
Absolutely. And I was on the bus.
Don't believe it. Sorry.
I was on the bus.
We're done. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Well, he's our excuse. You may step out.
I mean, we've always been close. No worries. I mean...
we're going to have to move on. That's my sister. That's my little sister.
I love my brother. I'm not going to say I don't.
I love her. I ain't mad at her.
But as far as this, I know not to do business with him.
It's just kind of,
I probably already knew that before, but...
Just, just kind of weird, you know what I mean?
Well, I didn't know that before, but this right here is just...
So that is the golden rule. No business with family. Business separate.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Higgins versus Higgins. Step forward.
Sherman Higgins is suing his son, Joshua Higgins, for substandard and unfinished work on his home.
Mr. Higgins, this is your son. How many children do you have?
I actually have 5.
You had to think about that?
I have to have 5 children.
And is this young man your oldest, youngest, or somewhere in the middle?
He's the youngest of the boys.
This is what I read, Mr. Higgins. You had a home. Your house suffered some water damage, and your son, who according to you has been working with you for a dozen years or so doing carpentry, I assume that that's your business, you said to him, want to take on this project and fix up the house because it had water damage. It needs this work, whatever. You gave him money, he bought the materials, you also gave him some money over the course of the work he was doing, and now you're complaining that you don't like the job that he did. You had to hire someone else for $1,800 to finish the job that he did, and now you're suing him for $5,000.
Exactly.
Is that... Yeah.
It's not right.
Did you ever read Once Upon a Time? There was Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. That's called a fairy tale.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many hours in the day did you try to take care of during those 7 days? Don't try to think about where you're going to go.
No.
It's never going to work out for you, Mr. Higgins.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Sherman Higgins says his son, Joshua Higgins, owes for substandard and unfinished repairs to his home.
First of all, I'm always suspect when a parent sues a child.
Okay.
I'm always suspect when a parent sues a child, not for necessarily a loan or for doing some act of vandalism which would cause anger by a parent for a child, if there was a viciousness that caused damage. But from what I gather from these papers, Mr. Higgins, your son worked on the house. He was going through some personal difficulties. He was going through a divorce. His mind may have been preoccupied with other things. And you acknowledge that in your complaint, I believe.
Okay.
Let's see. The defendant made up excuses to cover for his poor workmanship, but he should have been honest with me from the beginning if his personal life was going to interfere. I called my son and asked him if he could do the job. At the time, he was opening a barbershop, working nights at UPS, and going through a divorce. So you knew he was not a bum, right?
Right.
Right. He's not a bum.
Okay.
Rather, trying to open his own business, working at night to take care of his responsibility so he would have a paycheck. So I want to know how you're suing him for $5,000, sir.
I'm suing him for $5,000. First of all, Your Honor, Joshua's worked with me for several years. I used to run a mortgage company, okay? And Joshua always took care of good business. Matter of fact, before the escrow company would even release a check, home inspectors had to go in and make sure that all the work was done correctly.
Listen, I don't care to go over history, sir. I'm 73 years old.
Okay.
I can't start from the creation. We have to get to answering my question.
Okay.
$5,000.
$5,000.
Get to it.
Okay, $1,800 was I had to have another company come in and actually go and actually fix the leak that he was supposed to fix initially. I have pictures here to reflect what the leak looked like in my floor. Also, what happened was he started in the hallway, which, as a result of that, it went into my kitchen. So it was causing a lot of cosmetic work to have to be done and repaired, okay?
You were living there.
Yeah. Still live there.
You saw what work was being done every day. You gave him money for the supplies.
Your Honor.
Why didn't you stop him?
Your Honor, during this time, I was in Mesquite, Nevada for 1 week.
Where was your wife?
My wife was in and out. She works for the city of Los Angeles.
When he was supposed to be there helping.
Answer from you. Maybe I'm going to get a legitimate answer from your son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Here's the last day. I still got water going into my garage, as you can see.
No, I can't see. Listen, Mr. Higgins,
yes, ma'am.
I don't see anything.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Listen to me. You're going to be sorrier.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherman Higgins says his son, Joshua Higgins, owes for substandard and unfinished repairs to his home.
How much money did your father give you? Careful. How much money did your father give you in order to do this job?
Your Honor, he basically gave me...
Not basically.
Well, he definitely gave me, the first day I started the work, he gave me $1,000. The second day, I had to go buy a saw.
A saw?
A saw for the piping, because the piping was busted. And it was a certain part of the piping and wall that I was instructed to work on. So,
just a second. I asked you money. He gave you $1,000 the first day.
$250 for the saw. And when I finished, he gave me another $1,000.
Okay, so he gave you a total of $2,000 for your work.
Right.
And how long did the work take you?
I spent 7 days going back and forth to his house.
So I want to know, how many hours in the day did you business?
Well, Your Honor.
No, don't try to think about where you're going to go.
No.
It's never going to work out for you, Mr. Higgins.
I understand.
You spent 7 days between your barbershop and your UPS job. How many hours did you spend at your father's?
I spent about 8 hours a day, with the exception of me helping him out being his son. I took time off from my jobs to help him out.
Did you finish the job?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to show me a picture of the finished job.
I don't have a picture, a
Show me the picture of the last day he worked on the job. Last day, that's all I want to see.
Your Honor, here's the last day. I still got water going into my garage, as you can see.
No, I can't see. Listen, Mr. Higgins.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Higgins.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see anything.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Listen to me. You're going to be sorrier.
Okay.
I want to see the explanation of the person to whom you paid $1,800 to finish the job. I want to see that.
And may I also say something too, Your Honor? That's why the job wasn't completed, Your Honor. He was 6 feet off where the leak actually taking place. The water kept saturating.
Okay, so these people charged you $1,800.
Right, and also I have a $1,500 in 2000, and there's a signature right there.
Let me see it, please.
And Joshua works part-time for UPS. He doesn't work full-time.
Still a night shift.
For the night shift.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
Why in the world would you have your son sign an independent contract agreement?
Because this was between me and my son. And, Your Honor, normally I would get a receipt from people out there for doing work. But because I'm a musician, may I finish? I play music at a lot of casinos. I hire musicians from different areas, Reno, Las Vegas, and when they come at the end of the week, they want cash. They don't want no check. So I'm used to keeping cash on hand all the time.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You may think you're talking around me. I didn't ask you about cash. I asked you about signing an independent contract agreement with your son.
Because he works independent.
Well, Your Honor.
No, he's a hair cutter, and he works for UPS.
And
that's what he does. And what you should say to him, Mr. Higgins, is, gee, I'm sorry you're going through all this rough and dollars, which is nonsense, which is rubbish. I don't believe the independent contracting agreement at all. And I don't have a picture there of the work that he completed, because there's no question he completed certain work.
Right.
He may not have found where the leak was, but he did cosmetically what was necessary to be done. You may have had to have somebody come in and say, gee, he thought that this was the source of the leak, but this was the source of the leak.
Your Honor, may I show you something else?
Tell me what it is first. So far, I've seen a lot of things I don't believe.
What this is actually after my son got through doing work where I had to have actual heaters to dry into my floor.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Higgins. I don't believe a word you're saying.
Why does our excuse may step out?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
An automobile was purchased in her name, and you drove the car for a year.
Correct.
So you knew she had no driver's license.
I actually wasn't aware of the fact she didn't have a driver's license until I started dating her husband.
Judge Judy.
He called me complaining about a week later, complaining, saying that I didn't do something right.
I'm suing him because the work that he did was inadequate.
When what I was assigned to do, I did.
As a result of that, I had to have someone else come in behind him and do the work.
I just think it's outrageous.
You know,
was asking me to do